today's episode.
The gods of the scriptures are carnivores that come here to eat human beings, and they're coming back to eat human beings once again.
So a baby can be born soulless.
Absolutely.
Do you agree that the Christian God is a monster?
So you're saying the Jesus people are waiting for is Lucifer.
In the Quran, chapter verse tells you not to follow hadith. Did you know that? In the Arabic?
Today we brought together three people with completely different beliefs.
I believe in one God.
Someone who says they
I'm agnostic, but I have a lot of religious trauma.
and someone who follows spiritual paths.
Omnitheist with a heavy influence of Islam.
And they're going up against three student teachers of Dr. Malachi Z. York. I will be reading out statements from the student teachers. If you disagree, raise your flag.
If you'd like to be part of a future video, email us at info@osmvision.co.uk.
Not everyone has a soul.
Well, I think everyone has a soul. You're born with a soul. And Islam, your soul is a key part of you when you are born. And we may describe people as soulless when they do evil acts, but I think people still have a soul.
What's the word for soul in Islam?
Ruh.
Okay.
But I don't know how that helps you, but
It does, because the word ruh means wind.
okay.
Oh yeah? What's the word for spirit in Islam?
I wouldn't know, but ruh, there could be many meanings. You maybe give me one understanding, but we're talking about soul, right?
Yeah, but is there a difference between soul and spirit?
There might be, but
Right, so that already shows that there's doubt, because to have a soul and to have a spirit are two different things. So we say not everyone has a soul or everything, because there are things that are alive, but they don't have a soul. As you said, the soul is what gives you your emotions and your ability to feel and connect and move and dance and stuff like that. Whereas you have animals, dogs, trees, nature that are alive, but they don't have a soul. Everyone has a spirit, but not everyone has a soul. And there is a difference in the Quran. One is nafish or nafs, and then the soul is ruh, as you said. So if there weren't two different words describing the spirit and the soul, then you could say that everyone has a soul. And it tells you in the Quran that you can lose your soul. And in the Bible, it tells you people lost their soul. David lost his soul, for example. So if you can lose a soul, and then that means there are people walking around that don't have souls. And then very evil people that do very wicked, evil things cannot have a soul, because there's a lack of conscience to do the things you would do like that if you had a soul.
so do you believe you can regain your soul?
You can, yes, if you have one in the first place. If you don't have one, you can't regain it. If you have one, like you said, and then you lose your way or you're doing evil things, you can regain it by doing certain practices to reactivate it.
So when you lose your soul, you have no soul, but you can regain it.
Okay,
So at one point you have no soul because you lost it.
No, but I'm saying you can either not have one in the first place to begin with.
So born soulless.
Yes,
So a baby can be born soulless.
absolutely. Now, the thing is, let's define what a soul is. What is a soul?
You tell me, I'm interested in finding out more about
Okay,
you.
so soul is energy that can help you to transcend or go to higher levels of existence. So if you don't have a soul, you can't go to the higher realms. And would you say the jinns have a soul? If you're enjoying the content so far, like and comment.
Probably, yeah.
Probably is not a very
Well,
definite
I don't represent all of this stuff. I'm just saying, to my knowledge,
Yeah,
they probably
I
would.
know
Islam will probably have a definite answer, but I would like to think, yes, they are even though they're a part of another world, they are still good jinns, bad jinns. So
Okay.
I would think they have a soul, and yeah. I mean, the answer is yes, but I just gave my little bit of opening there.
Okay, so a jinn is what?
A jinn is not, well, they can take many forms. They're not part of this world.
Okay, but
Well, okay, what is your understanding of jinn?
It's not my understanding. Like we're trying
No,
to
I
establish.
want to understand.
Remember, the point we're making is that not everyone has a soul. I think we've demonstrated that already by what we've said. But you're saying that you disagree with that. So you would have to tell me, with what I have just said, does it now make sense to you that not everyone has a soul?
No, I think everyone has a soul. Like you said, you can regain a soul. I don't think that makes your soul less. Like I explained, some people, it may seem their soul less because of their actions, but they will still have a soul, but it's just that how we perceive them, they're heartless, that kind of things. But I wouldn't say their soul has left their body, that they don't have a soul, or they can't repent.
Would you say animals have souls?
I would say yes, they would have souls.
And trees have souls?
I wouldn't know. I don't
It's
know.
alive though, isn't it? Animals are alive,
Yeah.
trees are alive,
Yeah.
rocks are alive, the planet's alive. But
Are rocks alive?
Yeah. of
I don't
course.
know.
Yeah. Okay. What makes someone alive or not alive?
When you say someone, are you talking about people or are you talking about something?
Everyone, everything, because
You're talking about everything.
and people.
So the question was everyone. That I interpret it as people, right?
Okay.
So in terms of people, yes, but now you're talking about rocks, which I don't think they.
Because I'm trying to explain to you that when you're dealing with energy, everything has energy, yeah? So ultimately, people are energy beings.
But you've gone back to people, right?
Because I'm saying a soul is energy.
Yeah, but
And
then
there
you
are
said
different types of.
But then you said a rock. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I'm
rock
trying
has
to explain
energy.
it to you. So I'm saying, I explain in the Quran, you have nafs or nafish, which is a spirit. So animals, trees, rocks all have spirits because it's dealing with a vibration of energy. That means you're alive, because although things appear to be solid, they're actually composed of atoms, and atoms are small packets of energy that are vibrating. But to have a soul means that you have emotions, and you can do, like I said, dance, you can feel, have empathy, have love and care.
Okay, so
and stuff
rocks
like that.
don't have souls.
No, they don't.
Okay.
But they have a spirit.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Certain people on the planet, they refer to them as the walking dead, because they're walking around, they're alive because they have a spirit, but they don't have a soul. And like I said, you can lose your soul, because I've explained also that David lost his soul and he had to play the harp to regain his soul. Yeah, so those who have a soul, they have the opportunity to be able to, like I said, get it back if they lose it. Those who've never had one, they will never get one. But it also tells you, what's the quote where the Caucasians or the Amorites, Joshua, thank you, yeah, they lost their soul as well. You can elaborate on that if you can.
Yeah, there's a particular part in the Bible book of Joshua where it talks about the Adamites or the Israelites. They saw in the eyes of God, basically, he was, disgusted with their behavior, etc. And then he removed their soul. So their soul was actually removed from them. So they lost the soul. The Adamites then became soulless because of that. You see, so this is why when you read it, you have to read it in the original language, because when you're reading it in the English or another language, you lose the meaning, or you lose the translation, gets mistranslated. So one of the things we do as Sabians or Nuwapians is that we always look into the original language and what the meaning was in the original language and how the context was as well. See, that's why, because many people leave it to misinterpretation, So that is exactly. So that's what happened in the book of Joshua. They literally lost their soul.
It was 5 something, I can't remember the exact.
5:16, I think it is. Joshua 5:16.
Just want to add a build on that. And when we talk about spirit and soul, so when other people talk about spirit and soul, they interchange the spirit is soul and soul is spirit. The reason for that is because they lack spiritual knowledge. And the master teacher, Pada Babiananan, is what we refer to as a spiritual master, one who has mastered the physical and spiritual realms. Now, in the Egyptian mystery system, which is the highest of all learning, because all races came to Egypt, or we say Tamare, to learn from those venerable masters. And they went to their various lands and taught their people. But obviously they had to water it down for it to be accepted amongst the people. And just to continue on that, When they came into Tamare, we only gave them 3 degrees of 9. So those 3 degrees is what locked them into person, places, and things. Okay, so we have amongst us one of those venerable masters to give us this right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. Now, when you talk about spirit and soul, we have there are 2 spirits and 2 souls, and it's all got to do with the language. And going back to ancient Tamare, ancient Egypt, we have what we call the Ka'a, which is the spirit, but the exoplasmic you. We also got the Nafish, which is the personality. So that's the spirit. One is the exoplasmic or the life force, we call the Ka'a. Then we have the personality, which we call the Nafish. The personality is what makes you up, but it's coming from your DNA, from your mother and father, going down 4 generations. That's the spirit. With the soul now, there are 2 souls. As we say, that you have the Rawu or the Ru'aq or the Ruh in Arabic, Hebrew, and Wu-Sabat. Then we got, so that is the breath. When they say Ruh or Ru'aq or Ruh, that is the breath, the wind. Everybody breathes. Every living thing has the breath of life, the Ru'aq or the Ruh. Now we have what we call the Ba'a, which is soul. But this is the emotional you that connects you to what's referred to as the oversouls, which we say the Hu'u in our tonguage. This is like, no one has an individual soul or a Ba'a, because that Ba'a is connected to the Hu, to the oversouls. That's where that is coming from. So when a person crosses over, we know that we are composed not just of the flesh, but we also have a divine within inside of us. We have a spirit and soul and other compartments, but just to make it simple. So we are divine beings in a skin, or in a skin suit or a jacket. We're not a body with a divine, we are a divine with a body. So when we cross over, when we die, the flesh, the skin suit, goes back to Mother Earth. I said that with deliberate intent, Mother Earth and not Father, because the flesh comes from the mother. Okay, so now you're left with the spirit and soul. Okay, the ruach goes with the physical body, because that is what gives it the life, the breathing. So it goes. However, your ba'a, the soul, is, and your the ka'a, the exoplasmic you, and the personality, the nafs. That's what goes on to the next role. If you do not have a soul, a ba'a, you cannot make the connection to the oversouls, the hu'u, and continue your journey onto the higher planes. So as the Second brother said, not everything is alive has a soul, the ba'a, but everything that's alive has a spirit, a personality, and the life of the exoplasmic side of a human being. So a lot of it's got to do with the languages, and a lot of it's got to do with having spiritual knowledge. And a lot of people do not have that spiritual knowledge to have the ability to differentiate the allegorical portions of the scriptures and between the decisive portions of the scriptures. This is what it says and this is what it means. No, this is what it means. It is allegorical, it's not literal. Pana Babiananan, the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, is one of those high beings that is incarnated in human form to give us this outformation. And the reason why we use the word outformation is because it's coming outside of this 3-dimensional plane.
So Happy Ray's touched on a lot. You familiar with the term Ruhul Qudus? in
What do you
Islam?
mean by?
Al-Ruhul Qudus, the Holy Soul.
The Holy Soul.
Okay.
Okay, so when like Jesus is being described in the Quran, these are the terms they use. What Happy Ray has done is explained about language and about the origin of where things are coming from. So most monotheistic religions today, they come from Abraham, right? So Abraham is referred to by Christians, Muslims, and Jews as their patriarch or the father. So you'd have to know his history and where he gets his information from, and how it then worked its way into these younger religions like Islam of 1400 years, Christianity 2000 years, Judaism of 4,000 years roughly. So all of that is only a 6,000 year time span. But we've been on the planet as different cultures and different races for millions and millions of years. This has been proven by scientists, you know, who go around trying to figure out and find the answers to who are we, where did we come from, what evidence is available. They go to dig up, you know, tombs, and they go to like Egypt, to Sumeria, Mesopotamia. They've found so much evidence now that basically show that most of these religious books of today have been plagiarized or taken from those books. So people make a lot of claims in religion, like you said when you were doing your introduction about there's only one God, you know, and you refer to him as Allah. And if I ask you, is Allah a man, what would you say?
Allah isn't a person.
Okay, but then if we were reading the Quran, we can literally, I could give you quotes where he's called a he, where he's been seen, where he's talking, where he's walking. He's basically doing everything that proves that he's a man, sitting down on a throne. So saying one thing and then looking at the evidence and reading what it actually says shows you that they're not in alignment. And that's the same, because when we go to Christianity and to Judaism, it's the same thing. They say it's only one God, because in Islam you keep repeating it every day, like La ilaha illa Allah, right? There's no God but Allah. But the fact that you keep saying that, have no other gods but me, you're actually accepting that there are other gods that you can have, or else there would be no need to keep saying there's only one God, have no other gods but me. You see, so what you've been taught by way of when you're born into a religion, and you actually taking the time to study and decipher things for yourself, are two different things. When you're born into a belief system, you just believe, and you're asked to believe. But there's a big difference from believing something and actually knowing something by doing research and study. And that's what we've done by way of, you know, Happy Ray mentioned Partner Babyanon or Dr. Malachi Z York. He's the person that we have been raised under as students. And he encouraged us to do the diligent study and go into detail about everything, because you have to base it on evidence and facts.
The companies asking for your DNA to trace your ancestors are set up by extraterrestrials.
Okay, so why do you disagree?
Well, I don't believe in aliens for one thing, and that's pretty crazy.
Okay.
That's not a disagreement. That's just saying that's your belief. But what are the facts that you can base it on to say that this is a disagreement?
It's like getting a saliva swab to see like where your ancestors are from. So why would an alien even want that?
Okay.
That's crazy.
Okay. Well, what we teach by way of these teachings is that we as human beings, okay, were not originally created or came by way of a mother and father, just as, you know, as it is. Yeah, evolution and science shows you that there's been other interceptions that's happened in our genealogy. Okay, so within the historical research of ancient writings, they show you that beings have come from other worlds and they were responsible for creating man on this planet. So humanity, okay, to a degree, has genetic origin from extraterrestrials or aliens. Okay, it's actually in our DNA. And there's a natural DNA chromosomes. I think it's 223 chromosomes. Is that right?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, which is not actually, can't verify where that's coming from. 223 chromosomes, which scientists don't know what it is. They call it junk DNA. Yeah. So this junk DNA is actually alien DNA, and DNA is a form of technology that extraterrestrials have been using. Okay.
Okay.
So these institutions that have been set up, their job is to search for people who have certain DNA so they can actually abduct them. Okay?
That's mad. Nobody's
it's-
ever been abducted by an alien.
People have been abducted by aliens, you know, because you're talking about, I don't even want to go to the religious part yet, but you're talking about human beings who have actually had interaction with extraterrestrials and have been abducted by them and have written records, just what I'm saying, and had gone under hypnosis to say that they've been actually abducted. Yeah, and we are not in a position to say, well, that's not true, just what I'm saying. But when you actually explain what an extraterrestrial is basically, all right, first let's start off with, what is a sun? A sun is a star, okay? And planets revolve around stars,
Yeah.
okay? We're not the only human beings or existence of life forms in this form in the vast universe. There's many other different life forms in the vast universe. Some of them have got technology that they've gone to a certain part in their evolution where they've worked out a way to travel to other star systems. Can you prove it? Yes, we can, because right now that's what man's trying to do. They're trying to go to the moon, they're trying to go to Mars, they found out that there's life on Mars, they found out there's life on other planets, just what I'm saying. So that shows you that if man can do it, then why is it that other beings who are far more advanced than us, okay, have also come here and done the same thing? And this is where people's abductions come in, because when you start to ask or research these things, you find that people have been abducted, they've met extraterrestrials, some have been blonde hair, blue eyes, some of them being what they refer to as greys, some of them been referred to as other, monsters or etc. Okay? So the actual origin of extraterrestrials is a real thing. And they have set up organizations on this planet because they're trying to find a particular seed on this planet, and which then they can extract certain DNA from and clone, etc., and also wipe out. Because the extraterrestrials who created the Adamites, for instance, okay, these were known as the Anunnaki. It's an actual ancient race of supreme beings that religion now calls God. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think that's mad.
We stay and say, don't believe us. That's one of our things that we always stated by way of master teacher Dr. Malachi. Don't believe what we say. Check it out. So these Anunnaki, okay, they came here and they were responsible for the actual making of what we now call the Adamite race, okay, which you find in your Bible story as God made man in his image and after his likeness. I know you're not into the God thing.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? You're anti-God. But the thing is, it's not the God character that we've been made to believe in are actually aliens or extraterrestrials. You probably understand as aliens, but ETs or extraterrestrial are basically advanced beings, okay, who have got to a certain point in their evolution and have been able to break and do some science and technology. They've got that so advanced to that state that they can come to other worlds. You understand? And that's what man's going towards now. If you study anything about what NASA's doing and why they have the James Webb telescope, etc. These telescopes can see far, far remotely into distances, and they can pick up on certain planets that potentially have life. You understand? So this is what we're teaching here, that Ancestry.com and all these other institutions are in the guise used by extraterrestrials to collect DNA samples.
So if you do a DNA swab, you're going to be abducted?
No, not necessarily abducted. But what they're going to do, they're going to find out through something called genetic markers. Did you know that DNA has markers?
No.
Okay. So on your DNA, you have markers on your DNA that can tell you whether you're European, whether you're African, whether you're Dravidian, Asian, etc. These are actual markers on your chromosomes.
Yeah.
You understand? So within those markers, there's also certain blueprints, like a signature. You know, like your thumbprint? You also DNA markers are like your signature, your thumbprint, where they can identify who you are and where your origin is from.
Yeah.
So these extraterrestrials, they can say, oh, that's our children, or those beings, we need to wipe them or cleanse them off the planet, because they now become an infection to the planet. Don't think human beings haven't become an infection, because we pollute the planet, we cut the trees, we mass produce plastic, we do all of these things which is actually suffocating our planet Earth. So there's certain advanced beings, extraterrestrials, who see us as a waste product. You understand? And their job is to identify certain ones who are destroying the planet and remove them off the planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I may, just build on what my brother says. When you were doing your introduction, you said that you didn't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
Right. So the minute you say that, you're actually admitting that you believe in God or some kind of religion, because hells are coming by way of religion. I'm saying that to say that God, if he's not on the planet, is outside the planet, that would be someone that is in a celestial plane or outside of the planet. So that makes him an extraterrestrial. The same way that you're taught angels come from heaven down here. But when you research the word heaven, because again, some of you said you like to know how to get to heaven. The word heaven comes from the word haven, and it means a docking station, like a space station. And America and Russia have been building a space station for years. So they're trying to explore other worlds. So when you're saying heaven, when you read the scriptures, it actually tells you where heaven is. It's referred to as the Orion star constellation, or the Pleiades. So you can go to like Amos 5:8, Job 9:9.
That's right.
You can go to the books of Revelation. It talks about a crystal city that is coming down from heaven. You can go through the books of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel. Even in Muhammad, he went to the seventh heaven. They teach that in Islam. So anything that's going outside of the planet is extra coming to the planet, because this is a terrain, or the terrestrial plane, or we refer to this as the terrestrial as opposed to the celestial. So anything that comes from outside in, it could be a meteorite, a rock. Now it's been on the news and social media about a 3-eye atlas. They've been monitoring that, so they've been watching this. Before that, there was also something known as Hellbot. I know you're 21, and you're probably
just roundabout.
There's a lot of things we're going to say. You're going to have to go away and do your research. But bringing it to real life, even if we put the religious stuff aside, you've had things like Roswell, where it's a well-known crash of an extraterrestrial craft where bodies were found, and this was hidden for many years by the governments, but now it's being revealed. And not just the Roswell, but you got Val Thorpe, people that came and went to visit presidents in America. Eisenhower, Truman, Carter, these are American presidents, right? They've all admitted to having UFO experiences or extraterrestrial experiences. And in recent time, as new as a few years, last year or something, the government, American government, had something called disclosure, where they opened up a lot of the files that were classified, and now they're unclassified, showing you about many projects, Project Rainbow, Project Blue Book, the Mars project. There's so many projects that they were hiding the information, but now it's available to the public. And finally, there are people all over the world. There was a school in Uganda that the whole school witnessed an extraterrestrial craft, where until this day they were traumatized by it. Plus you've got things like movies like The Fourth Kind, which is a documentary of a craft coming to Nome, Alaska, and abducting people, and in the movie documentary, because they're filling the gaps, because sometimes when the crafts came, they would like mess with the electronics, and like some of the cameras would get cut off because you had the policemen with their little cameras and things. So what they did is recollect from the people that were there and piece the story from what they lost in footage and made this into the movie called The Fourth Kind. You remember the movie E.T. Go Home?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Hollywood has glamorized what are real extraterrestrials, but then make them into aliens. So when they show you movies like Star Trek, Star Wars, and Battlestar Galactica, and all these movies, they're really telling you stories of things that actually exist, but they've obviously made them into entertainment. So yeah, I mean, you might disagree, but you have to go and do some research to come to the conclusion that aliens are real.
Just want to build on that, on the building of look at again, it's all got to do with the language that we speak. Look at the word planet, plan-E-T. We're not making this up, it's there, plan-E-T. A plan of extraterrestrials. That's what is in the language, and it's hidden there in plain sight. Now, in terms of extraterrestrials and DNA sampling, etc., we have to go into religion. For this is because for the listening audience, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 reads, "And God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness." Let's just stop there. And God said, the word for God in the Hebrew is Elohim or Elohim. That's in the Hebrew. And let's stop there. Abraham, who is regarded as the patriarch of these monotheistic religion, in his tonguage, he never called on Elohim, he never called on Theos, he never called on Allah, he never called on God. Who did he refer to as his God? As Saken said, it was a group of beings called the Anunnaki, which translates as Anu, the heavenly one. The N is 50, the Na, N-A, is those who came in groups of 50s, so who came down. Ki is an ancient word for earth. So Anunnaki would translate as those who came to earth in groups of 50 from Anu, the heavenly one. So in Abraham's tonguage, he would have called upon the Anunnaki and the Most High of, because remember he was from Ur of Chaldea, which is Iraq, Iran, Mesopotamia, that region today. The group of the Most High was referred to as Anu, okay, and his beings were referred to as the Anuna, and when they came to Earth, they were referred to as the Anunnaki. Everyone get that? Okay, and okay, so let's stop there. So this says, and God said, or Elohim, or these Anunnaki, or this group of extraterrestrials, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. That renders them geneticists. Does it not?
Can I touch on that?
There's something I want to touch on when you finish as well. And then
that's what, so Saken and touched on that, and Usia touched on it. So that particular quote, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, it says, these geneticists made a decision and said, let us make man in our image, look like us, and in our image and after our likeness, act like us. And let them have dominion or rulership of the birds, fish, sea, you name it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's for a 60 thing. So this group of beings were called the ones who they're making in their image and after their likeness were referred to as the Adamites, because it says, let us make man. And the word there in the Hebrew is Adam or Adama, these pale or these ruddy beings. Okay, so, and then Genesis chapter 2 goes into another genetic intervention, etc., etc. And that is just the Adamites. There were, every race on this planet has had extraterrestrial intervention, including all races had. You follow? I just want to stop there.
Yeah, so again, what Haptui just said about the language and the word Adam, it also relates to the word Edom. And Edom is dealing with the blood, right? So going back to the original question about the DNA database, it's because when you start to look at how did people come on the planet, if you're starting in the religious world with a person called Adam, and the claim is that everyone then came out of Adam and Eve, because Eve is supposed to have been taken from Adam's rib, and then they had 2 children, Cain and Abel, and this is how the whole world multiplied. But then when you start to look at the fact that when Cain killed Abel, he was afraid people were going to kill him. So it was like, where did these people pop up from? And then in Genesis in 6:4, he's talking about Nephilims coming down and having sex with daughters of men to produce children, offspring. They call them Gabor, or the Jabarims, or we say the Nephilims. So you have to find out, well, who are these? So when you look at the tree from Adam coming down, that means everyone's DNA and blood type would have to be the same. But when you look at people on the planet, you have different blood types. You go A, O, AB, and then you have the RH factor. The RH factor is extraterrestrial in origin. So when you go into the actual science and facts and taking people's blood types and seeing
Question:
that,
can we interrupt at any point?
Same,
I don't know if we should interrupt or is it just her? Because I'm letting her take all the bulk, and I'm like, I don't know if we should interrupt or not. Like,
I'll get in the queue after you go.
no, you might as well have.
Put your flag on.
yeah. So if I just finish off, so I'm saying when you want to get an operation today, you might need a heart, you might need a lung or a liver. They have to check your DNA and your blood type to make sure that the match is going to work with you, or else it's not going to work. And so anthropologists now have been able to map out that we didn't all come from one source like Adam and Eve, because you've got the Homo naledi, the Homo habilis, which would be like the African stock, and then you have the Denisovan, the Homo florensis, which is all the Asian stock. Then you got the Neanderthal and the Cro-Magnon, which is like the Caucasian stock. And we're all different, have different trees. But of course, we've all now mixed with it. Everyone's mixed with everyone to produce what we call sub-races or hybrids. And now you've got people that are telling you on social media that they're reptilian bloodlines. The German, the royal family, David Icke, and certain people have been talking about this bloodline of reptilians, and what we call reptilians anyway, that are in government, and the whole files are coming out now, are proving that these reptilians, they love blood, they like to eat flesh. And you go back to the scriptures, the Bible, Quran, the Abrahamic religions, their gods are telling them to burn carcasses, sacrifice, spill blood. Even Isaac God wanted him to be sacrificed. So these extraterrestrials are the same ones on the planet that are doing these things, but now they're being revealed. So I'm going to yield with that.
This might be ignorant. Can you just explain what your belief system is? And also, like, do you believe in God, and do you believe in aliens? Are they good or bad?
We didn't say we believe in aliens.
I just want to understand your stance, because if anyone can
Okay, first of all, because all of you mentioned God, I'll start and you can tell me. But when we ask you, who is this God, who is this Allah, define him. Is it a physical being? Is it an unseen being? Is it a seen being? Does it breathe? What is God? And who is God, right? So first of all, we don't deal with the belief. We go into the facts. We want the evidence. So we want to know what you're calling God, because if you're reading the scriptures, you make claims. For example, there's only one God. Haptui just showed you that when you go into the Arabic and go into the Hebrew and go into the Greek, it's telling you that there are more, because Elohim is a plural. It's not one. You see, so what you believe and what you know are completely two different things. So we don't believe. We like to research and know the facts. So we know that we begin from coming from our mother and father, who were real, and their mother and father, and their mother and father. And this goes on for millions and millions of years, because they've dug up and found fossils that prove where we come from. Yeah? But the concept of a God is an extraterrestrial. And we have ancestors that have evolved to a level where they're now considered extraterrestrials, because they come from other star systems. The Orion star system, the Sirius star system. We mention other beings like the Pleiades, from Arcturus, from Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, as some people say. Like, there's so much information now proving that what you're calling God or angels are literally extraterrestrials.
Okay, so do you believe in a God?
I just said to you, we don't really deal with belief.
You don't.
A
Okay.
belief system is just a belief. You can believe in anything you want, but it doesn't make it true. And this is what religions, they try to get everyone to believe what they believe.
Okay,
But
so
when
do
we
you
say-
know there is a God?
Yeah, you are.
You
God.
know there is a God.
We all
We
gods.
all gods.
You think everyone's a God?
By the definition of
Okay.
what the word
Okay.
means, yeah.
So I'm gonna take away the word belief. Do you know there's aliens?
Yes.
Yes.
And you'd be able to prove there's aliens. To know something,
Absolutely.
you'd be able to prove it scientifically,
You
right?
see, when you're using words, we prove it by the words. Because when you say alien, most people don't even know, what are you calling an alien? You have to first of all define what it is, then you can say whether it exists or doesn't exist. An alien just means something from somewhere else.
Yeah. So, and even if you look in the word itself, you're looking at two words, Ali and En. You're looking at two words in different languages again. Ali means the highest. It's an Arabic word, and you have En, which is dealing with Anu. That's where you get the word Anu from. You see, what we're trying to really stress here is that if you miss out on the language aspect and the translation, you're not going to fully grasp what's being conveyed to you through your scriptures. So when you're saying Anu, Anu is where you're getting these stories from these Anunnaki. But when language is changed from the Mesopotamian or the Sumerian language, then it became the Chaldean language, then it became the Arabic language, then it became all these other different languages, okay? The translations got confused or mistranslated. So we're saying to you, in order for you to know anything, if you want to know about your grandparents, you go and ask your parents, right? Because they can tell you where they came from.
Now these days we ask Google.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying if
You could ask Google about your grandparents.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is, and you can go, yeah, you know, joking wise, true, you can, but I'm saying your parents will tell you who their parents came from, and their parents can tell you where their parents came from. And sometimes even in languages, they can tell you the meaning of your parents' name, etc., in those proper languages. And sometimes your parents will say to you, there's something I want to say to you in English, but I can't translate it properly because you lose the essence of it. So what I was trying to say is the essence and the meaning of these words have been mistranslated from Anu, Ali, En, the Most High, Anu. This is what you're actually saying when you're saying alien, really. You understand? And then so from the translations is where the master teacher said, study the language, because language is the key to breaking that spell. It's a spell of languages.
Spellings.
That's on our human race. You see, and obviously men have taken upon themselves, and what they've done is they replaced what it sounds like a word into the original word. They've just done a word replacement. They haven't actually gone into the essence of the meaning of the word. You understand? Because when you're saying the word God and Elohim, it doesn't mean the same thing, because Elohim is a plural. But you're saying Allah is one God, but Allah, the word there is Allah and Allahumma. Do you see what I'm saying? So now you're going into a language, you see that languages, they added vowels to the languages. And in adding the vowels to languages, sometimes you lose the mistranslation and the meanings. You have in Arabic you have the duma, the kasra, yeah, and you have other, tajweed, yeah. So these lose the essence sometimes by not on everyone. Sometimes it's done sincerely, or sometimes it's done intentionally. Yeah, go ahead.
I disagree with that. So the Quran has been around for what, 1400 years, right? And you know about mass transmission. So yes, no?
There's no original Quran today.
There's no original Quran.
Yeah.
There's no original Quran or Bible today.
Okay, so do you have the original?
Let me just say, so the Quran is the word of God. It has been memorized from the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, and it has been learned, and it's been the same from the beginning to the end, because there's chains of transmission. So chain of narration, people have said the same thing. What you mentioned about the vowels, this is just to help.
You didn't answer my question.
No, but
Is there original Quran?
No, but the question came, but
No, you're not answering. Is it a yes or no answer?
Let me answer.
Okay.
Because just like when I ask you a question, you
No,
don't
no,
answer
fine,
yes
go
or no,
ahead.
right? You go
No,
through the explanation, which I listen to.
I would say no straight
Okay.
away.
because it's the word of God, and what you mentioned about the vowels, it's just about to help the non-Arabs to understand how to say the words. I wouldn't say it's changed the meaning, it's to help us read it. And it's in the original language, which you guys promote, reading in the original language. And I wouldn't say the Quran has changed, it's in its original form that was there back in the day when it was put out.
Actually isn't. That's
Okay,
why I asked
cool.
you, because the original Quran would have been in what Arabic? Because there's different types of Arabic, different scripts, and the original would have been in what Arabic?
You tell me.
Quraysh.
Quraysh is a people.
Yeah,
but
because
they
it was
also had a
revealed
tongue.
to Muhammad. That was his people. And if you study the Islamic history,
Yes.
so you know that it was destroyed by Uthman. The Quran was destroyed, it was burnt. And so what you're claiming that people have memorized it, that's a claim. It sounds nice. But how many years ago, right, was it memorized? How young was the youngest person who memorized the Quran back then? Because it was way after Muhammad was gone, yeah? It took over, from remembering correctly, it was like 50 years for it to be compiled. After. So if a person was adult, let's say 20 years old, and they memorized the Quran then, I mean, they would memorize it like at 70 years old, because that's 50 years after. So it's very good to claim that it's not changed. The Arabic's changed. There were no vowels in the original Arabic, right? The system that was introduced means that when you put a vowel or like apostrophe or something, it changes the word. So what they're saying is these men that were companions of Muhammad, yeah, they're calling them hadith, right? Tales of men. They remembered things from 50 years ago and then somehow put it all back together. But there isn't a rich, because remember it was revealed on bones, animal skins, and it was done over a long period of time. So it's a claim to say that the Quran has been maintained all the way from there to today, which is actually not a fact at all. That's not true. The Arabic is different, grammar is different. Many claims that are made like, oh, the Torah has been tampered with and every other book's been tampered with, so that's why Islam is the one and the Quran and the Arabic. The Quran and the Arabic is the youngest of all of them. And there isn't really anything you can find in the Quran that you don't find in the New Testament or the Old Testament, because it comes from there. That's why it tells you in the Quran, if you're in doubt, to go back to that which was revealed before. You see, so like I said, religions, not just Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they all make claims, and everybody wants to convert people saying that this is the last testament, yeah? Which literally is saying, as my brother Happy Ray will elaborate on, because he told me this and I was just like, it makes so much sense. Nothing new has been told to us after Muhammad. But yeah, there are many things happening in the world today, and we've had scriptures that have come after Muhammad. So again, that doesn't...
But anyone can write scriptures, right?
Not anyone, because who has written a scripture?
No,
since
you said
Muhammad?
after.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Muhammad,
you're
there's
saying
scriptures,
anyone
right?
can, but
no, you said,
since Muhammad...
But what is scripture?
Okay,
Define
you tell
scripture.
me.
No, I've just asked you. Define what scripture is, because
Okay.
you just said after Muhammad, there have been scriptures. What
There
scriptures?
have been or
But-
haven't?
no, you said there have been, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Right, the Holy Tablets.
Can you elaborate on them?
Yeah, the Holy Tablets, it was received by our teacher, Partner Babyanun, the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York. And it's big, thick book. We don't have it with us right now. But yeah, that's a scripture that goes into details about the creation stories, the beginning of the world, the universes, and every question you can think about is in that book. And it explains things more clearly than the Quran or the Torah.
May I just
Yeah, of
add
course,
too?
go ahead.
You also have the in the Church of the Latter-day Saints, okay, also known as the Mormons. They had a person called Joseph Fielding Smith. He received a scripture called the Tablets of Moroni. You see what I'm saying? Or the Nephi, the Tablets of Nephi.
Yeah.
Yeah, which talks about their origin. You see what I'm saying? You also have Quran Circle 7 by Noble Drew Ali. He received the scripture. So people have received scriptures. Just because it doesn't fit into Islam, you're saying that that's the last person that, or the last prophet or revelation. It's not. There's other scriptures that have come before. I mean, after.
I just want to build on that. It's very important for us to have an open mind. That way we can grow rather than become narrow thinking. Now, I just want to say this, is that once we become narrow-minded and narrow thinking, we put ourselves in a vacuum of information. We limit ourselves. So what the master teacher is teaching us is not teaching us how to think, he's teaching us to think and to expand our minds. Now, in terms of religion, like in Islam now, because we went through the schools of Islam, and whilst in that school, the master took it upon himself to import teachers from Egypt, from Sudan, and from Morocco to teach the people at that time Arabic. Because we was here in the UK, we also, so those people who were taught the Arabic, they became teachers and they sent over tapes, and so we learned the Arabic. We don't speak Arabic now, so it's not something that's very fluent with us now, but just for that moment in time. So now, apart from that, the master told us, said that when you talk about the Quran, like as Ken said, the Quran was revealed in the Quraysh dialect, that was Muhammad's dialect. There are many dialects of Arabic. Now, those who do not know think there's only one language or one dialect of Arabic. No, there are many dialects and many scripts of Arabic. The Moroccans, or say the Maghribi, they have the Maghribi script, and the Persians have their dialect. So there are many dialects of Arabic. And when Muhammad was, he spoke the Quraysh dialect of Arabic. You get what we're saying? Or you don't get it?
No, I get what you're saying. Doesn't mean I agree, but
okay,
I'm listening.
Okay, so now, but you have the Quraysh dialect, but the script was the Kufic script. If we had an original Quran today and I present it to you, you won't be able to read one word, not one word. It has changed, and the brother said, with the addition of vowels, they changed the meaning of words. And by changing the meanings of words and changing the script, and the pronunciation changes as well.
And let me give you an example. What does the word Muslim mean?
Submission to God.
Doesn't mean that.
But
I'm demonstrating the language change to you. Like, you can speak to many Muslims and ask them the question, and they will say the same thing. Yeah? But if you study the language, the root word for Muslim, is salam, which is peace. Yeah? When you add a prefix in front of the word, mu, it becomes one who is of peace. So a Muslim is one who is of peace. Not what you just said to me. And I can give you a few other words where you see that people will do this, because the original way was a peaceful way. But what it is today and what it has been desecrated to is no longer that, because now you have divisions within Islam, right? Because even the word Islam is still salam, still peace, right? You have divisions where you now have the Shiite, the Ahmadiyya, the Sunni Muslims, the Ansarullah, the Nation of Islam, and they keep dividing. They don't agree because there isn't one way that they all follow anymore. One Quran, one language that they all follow, because the reason they're divided is because they all have differences. This one believes it's this one believes that should have been the rightful Khalifa, right? You had Abu Bakr that went and took over in terms of the successorship when it should have been Ali by way of the bloodline, how it's supposed to go. So today, if you look at Muslims, they all dress differently, yeah? The Arabic that they speak in their country, like in Pakistan or they Urdu, they speak different languages, but they claim that it's one Arabic, but they use their mother dialect and tell everyone that it's the same when they all have differences. But there's a script where they say Muslim means one who submits, or this means this, or this means that. And everybody learns that and they just regurgitate it. But then we like, go and study the language and you see that Muslim does not mean that. It means one who is of peace. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question. So you've got Prophet Muhammad, who's got the Quran, and you've got your leader's got his books. What would stop me from releasing all the notes that I have, that I've got in meditation from God, and then saying I'm a new prophet and this is the new prophecy that I'm bringing out? Is there a definition that would prevent me from using that term for myself as a new prophet and releasing that as a new
You
thing
could
for
do
everyone to
that,
follow?
but it's when you do, people will scrutinize it and read it and break it down and see if it makes sense. Because if you could do it, why haven't you done it? That's a question we'll ask to anybody.
Could.
You could, but what I'm saying is that there were many people in the world that would look at, let's say, like you said, the holy tablets, and say, well, I could do that. Sounds nice. If you could, you should, or you would have done, but you can't, so you haven't done it.
Okay, and if I
right?
do, let's say
but
in 10
I'm
years
coming to
time I
the
do
last
release
part.
it.
Yeah. What I'm saying
Unread
is,
it.
you have in Islam, you have a Rasul. Yeah, there are definitions of what a prophet is, and one who receives a scripture. Not everyone receives a scripture. So there are actually prophecies as to who is going to come, who's going to receive, scriptures, and who's going to, and we can go all the way from Adam.
So is there anything that says it can't be me?
Yes.
Can I just add to
Go
that?
ahead.
The reason why, if you're going on the trajectory of religion or Islam, okay, there's a bloodline. That's what you have to keep in mind. There's a bloodline. So Abraham had 2 children, two sons, predominant sons, Isaac and Ishmael. So from the Ishmaelite tribe is where Muhammad stems from, because he became from the tents of Kedah.
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying? So in the bloodline, they made what is called a covenant, with this Allah. So there's a covenant that's being passed from generation to generation. So only through the bloodline is where a Nabi, which is a prophet, you see what I'm saying, will be selected, because it's to do with the bloodline.
That's right.
You understand? So
Okay.
This is why it ties back to what we were saying about the DNA, which we can go into,
exactly.
Okay,
because
but what
they're
if-
looking for a particular bloodline.
So let's say you have got the whole story of Noah's Ark, God changed his mind, flooded the earth, started again. What if God's changed his mind since then and he's told me now, actually, everyone can be a prophet, just release your own thing and off you go. Can you disprove that?
That's the what if.
What if he's changed his mind? He's changed his mind before, why can't he change his mind again?
So he's a man then, could change his mind.
Well, maybe it was a...
If you change your mind, you're less than God.
Well, in the
meaning-
books, he
Yeah, but
does
this is what I'm
change his
saying.
mind.
Yeah, but that's what I'm
Sometimes he gets
saying.
angry, gets jealous, and
Exactly.
because of that.
right, so that is not an omnipotent being.
So if that is the God that I subscribe to, and he says, actually, change my mind, the prophecy is yours, and everything I've said before with the lineage,
Yeah, but
scrap
that's
that.
conjecture. You see what I mean? We're just saying what if. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can say that. What if this happened? What if that happens?
we can go by facts.
We have to deal with the reality, and you would have to be tested to see if you're from the bloodline of
But what
these
if he
people.
said, actually, scrap the bloodline? We're in
Yeah,
the
but
new
that's what I'm
age.
saying. We
This
can't
is
go
the
on a
new
what if.
Testament.
Speculation.
That's
We don't
speculation.
speculate.
Yeah, but what if I've got this
Conjecture.
information and I'm ready to release it?
Release it.
Release it.
Release it.
It'll
And
be
then you
then tested, it'll be tried, you'll be
Because
questioned
remember,
on it.
other people have tried, like Salman Rushdie. He wrote a book explaining certain things about Islam, and
Put a fatwa on it.
they put a fact. Yeah, they wanted to get rid of him. And anyone else who literally challenges or steps up and says, "Look, actually, that's incorrect." Many mistakes, but people will tell you there's no mistakes in the Quran.
And is it said that women can't be prophets?
Women can be.
Or they can be?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you name some? Because I haven't
There was
heard
Ruth
of it.
in the
Esther.
Bible, Esther. They were prophets.
There's many that people don't even know about.
Okay.
Mary, Mary has her
She has a
own
prophet
writings.
title.
Yeah, she had a book.
They found her books. That's why she's able to tell her story now, that she was married.
And she would have been in the lineage, hence why she was.
Yes,
she's
right,
allowed to be-
right.
Because the seed
Alright.
is through the female. Remember when we're gonna go biblical again. When the angels Elohim came, they came to Abraham and told him that Sarah was barren and that she was gonna conceive a child. Right? Okay, genes again, DNA again. You see what I'm saying? But it takes the seed, the mitochondria, of the female because she passes on certain traits. You understand? So it's always the seed is through the woman.
That's
And-
why the
and-
women are hidden and they're not even mentioned. If you look at the bloodline from Adam all the way down, they never mention the women, because the women will then tell you the lineage and the bloodline. And they put a movie out called the Da Vinci Code, yeah, where they then admitted to you in there that the offspring of Jesus was a woman.
Is that a documentary?
Yeah,
Da Vinci.
Yeah, go check it out.
yeah.
Women were here first on Earth.
50-50.
50-50.
I have no idea.
Okay, go ahead. You disagree? Why?
Adam being the first man on earth.
Okay. Where do you come from?
Me?
How are you born?
I come from East London.
How did you arrive here on this planet?
On this planet,
Yeah.
I came physically through my mother.
There you go.
And I have a
That's the
father as
facts.
well.
That's the actual facts. Guess what? Everyone on the planet came through a woman. That's scientific fact. Even if you do IVF or anything, you still need the woman, the womb, the woman, you need her womb to bring about children. You can't take dust off the ground and make a man. That's not scientific fact. And Adam had a navel. Do you know the purpose of a navel? Your belly button?
Or
Carry on.
did he have a navel? Is the question.
He did, because
Yeah,
every
because
man
he
on the
must have
planet
had
has
a
one,
navel.
right? And that connects you to your mother when you're in the womb, for her to feed you and give you the nutrients, and while she's creating you in her womb, and then you come out of her. That's facts. There's no fact anyone has done an experiment to take dust off the ground and create a man, and then take a rib. The man and the woman have exactly the same amount of ribs till this day. So no rib was taken. But going back to your original question about the DNA in the blood, the reason they use the word rib is because it was a genetic experiment. They had to go into the bone marrow to take the blood to do the genetic engineering of creating the Adamites. So this is what we're saying, that what you believe and what the actual facts are two different things, and that's what we're here to do as student teachers of the master teacher, going back to the original people on the planet where all the knowledge comes from, and we predate everyone. So we're now in the day and time where the first shall be the last and the last shall be the first, meaning that after 24,000 years we renewed the history and the stories of the world that have been told through somebody else's eyes. So what it is, you'll find that when you say history, you're literally saying his story. And the his is the people that either through the lack of knowledge or misinterpretations of the scriptures have given people these books that are, they say they are the word of God and God doesn't make mistakes and God knows everything, and then, or Allah, and then when you start dissecting them, it's the exact opposite. He doesn't know everything. He does make mistakes. Because to say that you're going to have a New Testament when you had an old one means he made a mistake. Now he has to come and correct his mistakes.
Does that mean God made a mistake or the people?
Okay,
Because that doesn't prove God made a mistake, does
But
it?
you say God, but it's people. Because who created the word God? Who named God, in other words? Who named Allah? Who gave him his name? Does it
Allah
make
is just
sense?
Allah is just the name.
Yeah, but
And
where
he has
did
many
you- no, but
characteristics,
somebody
and
gave
it's-
you that
and
ti-
it's a characteristic. But you don't believe man was
You're not
created by
answering my
God, right?
question, though. I'm saying
but-
you're using words like God and Allah, and I'm saying who named them? Because if you have a child tomorrow, you're going to name the child, which means that you existed before your child, and you give your child a name. All of us here were given names by our parents. So who was it that gave God the name God, or Allah the name Allah? This is to show you that your concept of an almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing being doesn't make sense when it even tells you, if you go to Revelations 3:14, it tells you that Atum, or was it Amun? Amun was witnessing the creation of God. It's like watching a child being born. And then they gave the name. Who is Atum or Amun? These are our ancestors in ancient Egypt, where everybody went to study. So when you start going, what's the oldest creation story? Who has the oldest language? You will go to ancient Tamaray. This is why we say that we speak our language known as Mispatia, which is where all languages on the planet come from. And that's why we can show you the meaning of words, how they've come from this language to end up in Sumerian, with the cuneiform, or to the hieroglyphics of ancient Egypt. And we can go through all the languages, what they call the Semitic languages, to get to where we're speaking English today. And most people are confused because you've lost the message with the Chinese whispers as it's come along from the original languages.
And as we said, sometimes it's unintentionally done, and sometimes it's done intentionally to cover up certain things, because it will reveal that this particular being or God character is not one being. Do you know what I mean? And they've known this for a long time. There's not one being. So, the birth of a female or the birth of a mother of a child is by way of the female, by way of something. Look it up. It's called mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA predates, you see what I'm saying, man, the Y chromosome. Yeah, it's an actual DNA that exists outside of the nuclear DNA.
And I guess you're going to ask us, how do we know that woman was there first? And he's just touched on the XY chromosome, whereas Mary would have had to have a man involved to have the son, a male son, Jesus, right? But even scientifically now, you can go and research parthenogenesis, right? Which is the process of how life begins with single cells and then they split and multiply. And a female actually secretes fluids from the clitoris, is literally a miniature penis. So a woman can impregnate herself. And this has also been scientifically proven. So women were here first, and women gave birth to women and men on the entire planet.
Can I ask for a quick visual of, so you're saying woman was here first. How? Was it like ET's test tube, science lab?
Precisely.
And then it was like, okay, or was it made like in batches? What was the kind of...
That's.
But who created the alien first?
Oh, they came...
this is what we're explaining.
So they made...
We can answer the question.
So they made a lady in the test tube, and then after that, they...
You're dealing with different interventions and in different time spans.
The original first
the
woman,
original
how was she made?
Beings on the planet were from the Sirius star system.
But these are not women.
System. These were females.
But when you say the first person was a woman, we talk about the Earth's women.
Yeah, so the Earth women, if we're going back to the Earth women, we're talking about, okay, first let's get something straight. The way we look now, it's not how we looked thousands of years and millions of years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? Because this was a water planet.
So you're saying there was evolution in between?
Well, yeah, because...
And that was like naturally over time how they teach it in science?
Well, what does the planet compose of? Water and land, right? Or solid ground. Which part of it is mostly water? Most of the planet is water, 70%.
Bits we don't go on.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying 70% of the planet is water, right? So, being that it's a water planet, what does a baby grow in?
Fluids.
Water, yeah? And how does it breathe? You've never thought about that, have you? yeah.
The gills?
Yeah, there you go. It's breathing through his gills because it goes through a gestational period. When you look at a child in the mother's womb, it does not look like how you look now, just something when you're birthed. It looks more like a chicken. Go and look at a chicken's egg.
Yeah,
it looks more like a reptilian. It looks funky, if you want to use that word. So there's a gestational period and an evolutionary period taking place in the mother's womb. Yeah. Now, when you take it beyond that scope, you know that extraterrestrials were the ones, or we teach that extraterrestrials are the ones that were responsible for placing these DNA in the waters by way of a creature known as the dolphin today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this dolphin, it looked after these incubated humanoids to the point where they evoluted and were able to look after themselves.
So is that where the first woman came from?
That's
that?
Right, from that.
And was there men already ready to hatch? Like, what's the vision? I'm trying to see the vision.
I'm going to give you the vision, right? So a lot of people on the planet, if they don't want to they close your mind about aliens and extraterrestrial on purpose, so you only think about everything starting on the planet. But because there are other life forms, other star systems, and other places where life started.
So let's start from the beginning. Where did life start then?
Let me finish.
Because you keep saying
Yeah,
that
but
aliens.
I'm trying to answer her question.
Aliens come. Hopefully that's part of yours as well. Where did the first creation come
Okay,
from?
this
If you're
is
saying
what I'm
an
trying to
alien, but
answer.
where did the alien come from?
Okay.
I think you touched on it a bit about
Yeah.
the star system.
Yeah.
But I think we skipped them.
That's right.
Okay,
Fine,
right.
go
So
on.
you have to go back to how things start, yeah? So you ending up in a situation where you're dealing with gases, yeah? So on the planet, they give you a periodic table and they tell you that life started with hydrogen, H1, and then they go into H2, and then it comes down to oxygen and carbon, C6, etc., etc. This is how life evolves. Then they go into like the amoebas and the algae, and you know how life evolved from the waters. But prior to H1, you have another state which is referred to as ether. They tell you that when they start to subdivide the atoms, you're going in the other direction now, where they call it nothing, but it exists. It's just that they didn't know about that existence. So when you're saying where did it begin, a beginning is based on creation, but there's existence that is before creation, and there's pre-existence, which is before existence. So when you look at a life form or look at the planet, you have to go back as far as you can go to where it started, and they formed from these 9 ether gases. When we say 9 ether, that's the combination of all existing and conscious gases, because gases can be conscious as well, all right? So that's why now you're thinking, but your thoughts are not in your head. There is a whole existence outside of your physical being. So what we're saying is there are beings that evolved on other star systems, and they're far more intelligent and far more advanced. They put their DNA and genetics into the dolphin and seeded this planet in the waters, or germinated the water. Then the evolution from the water came onto land. The first people that are recorded to come out of the waters will be the ancient Egyptians, known as the Ogdoads, right? And they refer to them as snakes and frogs. But you have to go to any person who's saying this is the beginning. You have to ask them to give you a story of how that beginning started. So when you go to the ancient Egyptians, they will tell you about, we mentioned Atum and these Ogdoads who became the 9 Enneads and then spread across the planet, right? But the Egyptian story of creation is going to be different to the Sumerian one, to the Hindus, to the what we're looking at today in terms of Christianity and Islam. We can go into more detail, but I can see, man, and it's coming with a flag, but I didn't even let. Anyway, we can go for the next one. Is that guy?
Still didn't answer my question.
He interrupted, that's right. When you're on the flow and then someone interrupts, you kind of go, but your question was where the women came from. He told you, serious.
No, I said, what's the vision? So like you said, okay, there was waters, dolphins.
No, I gave you the
happening,
vision from
but
star
the woman,
system.
was there like 10 women? Was there one? Was there like
Oh,
men
it
and women at the
starts
same
with
time
one.
and there was just pending? Like what was...
Okay, you
Was
mean
it just like one
on
on one
the earth?
creation?
You might want to record that bit, sir.
No, we can do that.
It's
I
the
mean,
Ogdoads.
Yeah, or was it like a, you know...
I think because we say terms, and if you're not familiar with the term,
Because I'm thinking like, are we thinking literally or are we thinking metaphorically? But then metaphorically again,
No,
it's
physically.
illusions. Or was it like literal, actual waters, actual dolphin, actual... And then how was the women just floating around? Did they just appear? Was they like...
but that's why I said they
tadpoles and
evolved and came out of the waters like.
But it was just women, and then the men were not.
I'm going to answer your
about.
question. You know, today there's still life forms in the deep seas that have not come onto land.
Yeah.
They've been there all the time. Sirens, or what people call mermaids and mermen, right? They've made the movie Aquaman and all of that. So life is still in the waters in different, like my brother Osir was saying, like when you're looking at a woman today, you're thinking a humanoid like we are now. But it wasn't always like that. They had to evolve, and then tsunamis threw them onto land. Then they were in the trees, they learned to adapt, and they lost scales, and so it took a long time. It wasn't just like you just popped out like a woman is today.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
That
ancient
holds the visual.
Egyptians.
And then with the man, how long after man come? If you're saying woman came first.
So the female was able to give birth to just women initially, and then she secreted fluids into herself, and because of the genetic adaptation, i.e. the X chromosome, because you were just XX when you were just women.
And this is happening still in the waters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then obviously on land. So everywhere you go, in the land, in the seas, in the air, in the planets, there are both genders. Yeah, some are in different forms, as in, like we look at, you're an electrician, right? You look at energy as positive and negative, but they gender, but they need each other to work. So it's the same thing with male and female. But I don't know, have to you want to elaborate on that, because me and Osir have been talking for a while.
Going back, as the brothers were saying, that this planet was seeded with life from Sirius and Orion. It was the DNA that's coming from Sirius. The females, their DNA comes from the Sirius star system. The males come from the Orion star system. And they were placed in the dolphin, as the brother said, that you look at the word dolphin, you see it comes from the root word dolphinus, which means womb. Okay. So the eggs were transplanted in the dolphin, came into the waters, and when the time was ripe, R-I-P-E, the eggs hatched, and over a process of time, then evolved the women, or the feminine and the masculines in the waters.
So if those two stars, the male and female, why was it only chosen female to be in the dolphin?
Now, both of them were in the dolphin, were transplanted. We're saying that the source of the DNA of the females came from Sirius, and the DNA of the males came from Orion. And the overseer over that project was called Ptah. When they came in the waters, and they were in the waters, those beings were known as Hydro-Pygmies or Hydro-Ptahites. The planet was called Ptah Nun. We also got our land, we say Tamaray, but the proper term is Ptah Meye Reye. How comes this name, Ptah, keeps popping up?
You know, something I wanted to touch on when you said about the waters and the baby, is that before, women were able to produce outside, you know, like how reptiles, like how they lay eggs and then the egg hatches and then the chick comes out. It's the same, it's just that now, because of evolution, you're doing it the same way as other reptilians who are able to produce by themselves, but you're doing it internally. This is why when your waters break, that's like hatching the egg, and then the baby come out, and then you have all the, you know, the afterbirth and all of that stuff. It's because it's now grown inside, so you have that egg shape, or that the womb it looks like. But that's the same way that reptiles, if you go and study what we're saying, how they reproduce and come about by single cells, it's the same for the women till today.
So all of this is in your tablet, right?
It's scientific information, but it is in our
No,
tablets.
about the dolphin. I've never heard about the dolphin
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that scientific, or you saying it's in the
You
tablet?
can research it.
You can research it.
Yeah, go and research about the dolphins. Dolphin chromosomes and human chromosomes are very similar.
Parthenogenesis.
They're very similar, but we're talking about the fact that a dolphin created the first woman.
No.
Yes,
What
they
we're saying is the
created.
DNA.
The DNA was
encapsulated.
inserted.
Yeah, but
inserted
then
in
the first
dolphin.
woman came from that, right?
First-
that's what you're
the
saying, no?
first beings.
Okay.
First
There's
beings.
different types of beings, in the seas. We're talking about our life formers in terms of being able to come out and walk on all fours and have legs and all that. So there were other beings, amphibian beings, etc. that were. This is why you have to go into the oldest creation stories. So when you're saying the word Torah, for example, which is supposed to be the first book, it's relating to our ancestor known as Taweret, because the Dendera, I don't know if you know about the Dendera, which is where they get the horoscope from and all of that, that tells you about your nature and so forth. She's depicted in the middle as a hippo, right? You have to go and study how,
Symbolism.
the symbolism, as well as, like we say, you have to do scientific research in terms of DNA and how things evolve.
Africans and their descendants are the only race with hair. Caucasians, their descendants and all others have fur like animals.
Okay, let's start.
Do you agree?
No, I'm like, what?
Okay, let's start with the female. Go ahead.
What does that even mean? That just sounds quite weird.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
As
What it's saying here is that the Negroid race, being the first race on the planet, are the only ones with hair. In our language, we call it wabar. The hair curls to the number 9, and it curls up. The reason why our hair curls up is because it's going towards the source, which is the sun. And these are antennae. This is why no other race on planet Earth has wabar or hair. All other races, just like animals, have what we call farar or fur that goes down. Okay, just look at yourself in the mirror and look at the brothers with an afro. You can see that it's correct. The hair has the highest amount of protein and energy within inside of it, and that's why it grows up symbolic or representative of life. Because everything that's alive grows up towards its source. Anything that's dead goes down, okay, towards its source. That is an actual fact.
So, what it is every race, or you have 3 root races, all have a unique trait. Okay, so the Negroid's trait was the Afro hair. That's why if you go back to the 60s to the 70s, you look at like Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 and the OJs, and everyone was wearing an Afro. And it come to today, very few people have it because there was a concentrated effort. This is why the slaves were made to pick cotton, and then you saw a transition where people started to relax their hair, use the hot comb on their hair to try and make it look like the images that they were pushing on TV. Until this day, most of the media will promote the long straight hair, to the point where now a lot of black women are spending a lot of money on trying to get this look, this straight hair. But a very simple test, and this is not to insult anybody, it's just that every race has their unique trait. It's just that for us, that was our trait. But if you took a piece of your hair, cut a piece of your hair, and then cut a piece of dog's hair or fur, and take some from a cat or whatever, if you line them all up and ask people to come in and do a test, they may not be able to tell which is which, you see. So it's fur because that's what it is, and you can just do the test yourself. So other races do have their own traits, like the Chinese, they have the, you know, the
epicanthic fold.
Yeah, epicanthic fold, which is the way their eyes are. You got people with dimples. You got people with, you know, like the color of their skin and so on. So that's what it is. But I don't know if you want to elaborate.
It's just it's like when you look at the original people that evolved from the waters and onto land, they're known as the Sans and the Khoisan. There's 2 tribes that are still today indigenous to Botswana and parts of South Africa. Okay, and science teaches this, that they're the original root race on the planet that have all the different phenotypes. You get what I'm saying? The slanted eyes, or the epicanthic fold, the wabar, the hair. They have the traits of the brows of the Dravidian. They have the dimple of the Asians. These are unique traits that you can find in different individual races now, but they have all of those characteristics in them. You see what I'm saying? It's known as the haplogroup. If you go and look it up, it's called a haploid group. And that grouping shows you that they were the original people that migrated from Africa and diversified into the different races that we know today. Okay, this is a scientific fact. It's not something we're just, you know, trying to promote because we're pro-black or anything like that. This is science. Yeah. So, in knowing those kind of realities, know that also when you're breathing energy, okay, there's a something called a solar plexus that you breathe in. Okay, that solar plexus. Why is it called solar? Because it deals with something called sun, a heat. Yeah, there's a heat inside you that when it generates enough energy, is very potent in some races. And the race that has the most potency of that solar energy is the African race. So when our hair, it kinked, it's called kinky hair for a reason, because the potency curls our hair. And also when you go and study about hair scalps, the roots of the hair, it grows differently in different races. You understand? So these are these things that you can go and look at scientifically to actually understand that there's a difference between hair and there's a difference between fur based on the potency.
And what you said about it's called sun heat genes.
That's
like
right.
when you take an negroid hair and you put it close to a heat or comb, it naturally just curls into the number 9.
Yeah.
Now when you bring that into the scriptures, this is why they were telling you about Samson, about his hair, like his power was in his hair, and is it Delilah?
Yeah, Delilah.
He tried to cut off his hair to get his power. So it all relates because the hair is like an antenna that picks up the energy from the sun with those sun heat genes. And this is again scientific when you start to study proteins and what you're made up of in terms of your neuroscience in terms of your neuromelanin. This all ties into the melanin.
So when you say antenna, what do you mean by that? What's the purpose of the antenna?
It's like an aerial on your TV. What does it do? It receives the
and
signals
sends.
and pulls, because you have so many waves, like from gamma rays all the way to what we call infrared on your TV remote control. So you point it to the TV and change the channel. It's because it's able to receive that. You get radio waves as well. You get all kinds of waves that you're picking up. So your hair, dealing with 9 ether, is able to pick up the higher frequencies that are coming into this planet by way of the sun, because the sun has actual information that becomes information when it arrives here. So when you go to the melanin, this is why we are sun people, and we need to be around the sun to receive that knowledge or information.
So
from
do
the
you
sun.
believe in a superior race?
Well, it depends on what you're calling superior. Because how do you judge or measure, I see your flag as well, how do you judge and measure what's superior or supreme?
You tell me, you interpret how you...
No, but I'm saying you came up with the term. So
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm letting you open to how you believe.
It's not Hitler tried to create.
Who?
Hitler tried
Okay.
to create a superior race. What we teach is that science dictates who is who and who is not. Who has
Natural,
different certain
nature.
things. Who's natural and who's unnatural. That's what science teaches. So we teach by way of science. Do you see what I'm saying? And you can go and do your research backed up by science. So the superior race ideology is coming from the Europeans when they coined the word race in the first place. You with me? And Hitler is the one that coined this or produced a particular thing known as the Aryan race to show that those particular people were more superior than any other race on the planet. But who beat them? Jesse Owens. If you go and do your research, Jesse Owens, when they lined up, he won like 4 or 5 different events. Just something in the Olympics. So by just our way we are superior in that sense. Not because we're
So
claiming.
you're saying athletically superior, or are you talking about other things as
There's
well?
other things
you
as
can
well.
use any measurement
Any
you want
measurement,
to
yeah.
use.
So you're saying black or African or
Just
what's
the,
superior?
the African race.
Everyone comes from Africa though.
Okay.
That's
So
what I'm saying, yeah.
it's the same thing we're saying. It's just that we have a say in the master coin called "No one wins the race in racism," because we don't deal with racism. But it's funny when we speak about race that the people on the planet who have dealt with push racism the most are not us.
Exactly.
It's always everyone else. This is why whenever we try to say, look, we're not Islam, we don't follow Islam, we don't follow Christianity, we have our own stuff. People are like it's wrong, but then you look at every race, they have deities in their own image and likeness. Like Muhammad looks like an Arab, Jesus looks like a Roman or a Greek. You can go to the Dalai Lama, you can go to the Krishna, every race has what they look up to as a deity or as a supreme being. But we are the only ones that over time, because of racism, where they've actually pushed the white Jesus, blonde hair, blue eye image in all the churches, in all the movies and everything, they're actually pushing racism. And then Islam did the same thing by telling you that when they're reading the hadith, that Muhammad's armpits were white when they saw him. It's like, that's racism. When you say things even with like masonry or any other type of organization, Ku Klux Klan or whatever, where they say you have to be enlightened, the Illuminati, that's all dealing with racism, because to be light is not to be dark. You see,
So
so
are you
there's a
saying-
lot of racism,
Subtle.
subtle racism that is pushed out there, and even till today is still going on, where people are disenfranchised because of their color of their skin. So we have faced more racism. If you go to the so-called slave trade, it's just clear. But we are the peaceful ones that always try to be like, let's all come together, let's work together, let's teach you the peaceful way of life. This is why we are known as the Nuwaubian Islamic Hebrews, because we bring everyone together. And you look at our symbols, you look at what we're about, it's all about teaching people the truth. And if you can stand strong in the truth, we're welcome. We welcome everyone who can deal with the truth. But what we're not going to do is continue the lies that have been told for 6,000 years, making us that we're inferior. They used to say, we're even the Constitution of America, that we're not even human, right? Yeah, like, or we're 1/5, or some ridiculous term. So it's like, now that the truth is coming out in terms of where does everything originate from, like you say, if you want to measure sports people, music, dance, even in the scientific endeavors, like today, there's so many inventors that never got credit for their inventions, whereas most of the inventions on the planet actually come from Negroids. So there's a lot of racism that we're not responsible for. So yeah, we just teach that everyone is equal if you can stand in truth.
COVID is a genetic virus placed here by extraterrestrials.
Do you want to just explain that?
You know what, everyone knows what COVID, right?
Yeah,
2018, 19,
Yeah.
the rise of this, is it pandemic? Yeah, it's a pandemic, wasn't
Plandemic.
it? Plandemic, yes, plandemic. So it's a virus, okay? So what we teach, and I've been teaching through the Wu-Sabat, our doctrine, is that there's certain things that are done on purpose, and COVID was just one of them. So COVID was an actual genetically engineered virus that was to remove a certain population of the planet, okay?
Why would they want to do that?
Because the beings that we refer to as the extraterrestrials, okay, their whole intent is to remove X amount of the planet, because they see it as useless eaters, wasters, waste of space.
All the elderly people are a waste of space. Because
This
that's who it kills.
this is not my thing. Yeah, I'm not advocating.
It sounds so bad.
No, but do you eat chicken?
Yeah.
Do you eat chicken?
Yeah.
Is it bad for a chicken?
No.
You see, you're saying no, but to the chicken it's bad. So you need to look at from what perspective are you seeing things from? Yeah, extraterrestrials, they don't see human beings as worthy of living and interacting and looking after this planet.
But where is that from? That bit you're saying that the extraterrestrials believe certain people aren't worthy. Where is that from?
So,
Okay.
So you again, this goes back to interpreting and reading the scriptures properly, because COVID was actually mentioned in the Bible as Kobad, yeah.
The glory of the Lord.
Yeah, and when you say who says that, you just have to look at what man has been doing to the planet, or certain types of people have been doing to the planet for the last 6,000 years. Like we say, we're depleting the resources of the planet just because we want to eat the animals, right? But who says that it was okay for you to eat animals, and then when extraterrestrials abduct people to eat, you say, it's all wrong, it's all bad. But it's all right when you get cows, chickens, pigs, and eat them.
You think they're eating the people who are killed?
Sorry?
The aliens
This
are
is now a
eating-
fact. They're showing you cannibalism is all throughout the scriptures and has been proven now by research into the meats that people are eating, because there was a time where you actually saw an animal, and now you don't see it. You just go to a supermarket to get what you're calling meat, which is an animal, a flesh of an animal, right? We've conveniently named it meat and then say we can consume it. But if you go to the Bible, the first time you see the word meat, it says you have been given herbs and vegetation to use for meat. There wasn't an animal called meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to the brother's question, extraterrestrials are so far intelligent that this planet, they live on it as well. There are extraterrestrials that live in the waters, live on land, live in the skies, and when you're damaging the planet by way of cutting off the trees, as Lucia said before, poisoning the water, poisoning the animals, getting rid of the rainforest, wars with bombs and missiles and all that's going on even now as we speak. So they look at you like you're barbaric. You don't even know how to get along. You fight each other over religious beliefs, and you fight to take territory and to take land and take water, right? Water flows. Some man comes and says, like, we're going to call this part the Red Sea. We're going to call this part the Atlantic Ocean. So you divide up the water, which is natural. You divide up things and you fight amongst each other, and you're just destroying not only the planet, but it's going to affect us as beings that also live here. And that's why they will step in to say, we have to wipe you because you're now a manifestation. Man is infesting the planet. You know, you poison the water, then you sell water to us in bottles.
With plastic.
Free energy, and you make us pay for it. Electricity, and we can go into the Nikola Tesla story and all of that. Name everything you're doing today, you see that it makes no sense if it was naturally available for you. And now someone decides, okay, you know what, yeah, instead of you giving your baby milk from your breast, I'm gonna sell you cow's milk instead to give to your child. But yet, every child is nurtured by its mother. But if you put human milk in the supermarket for humans to consume, they will say, that's nasty. But they will consume cow's milk, which is not even related to them. And then this goes into the problems on the planet with the health, because dairy products from animals cause a lot of mucus in your body. And then that mucus traps metals that are in the atmosphere as ions. Then people get sick and they get all kinds of stuff because of the things we are doing, poisoning the planet. So extraterrestrials are like, unless you guys upgrade your mentality and stop killing or unaliving the animals, we're gonna step in and take care of the ones that are doing that and remove you. So yeah, cold bad, as it's known in the scriptures, was, do you know what panspermia is? So this is where bacteria come from out of space, and they come here and they can be good or bad for you or can harm you. Yeah, so this is how it came about. It came from a craft, and then it affected the people on the earth that breathe it in, and then it just went into a whole pandemic. And AIDS was genetically engineered, as most diseases are. When you start studying the what's it called? The disease unit,
Center for
Disease Control, CDC. You see a lot of stories. They put out a movie called Outbreak, right? Years ago, before the actual incident took place. So go and watch that movie, and you will see that a lot of things are happening on the planet, and who's controlling it and who's orchestrating certain things are people you think are your leaders, but behind them you have extraterrestrials and other beings that they literally answer to. There's a whole hierarchy of beings that lead all the way to some of these sinister extraterrestrials that want to take over the planet because they don't believe that we are worthy of it.
But it's how do you prove that it's aliens behind it? It could be someone else. It could be just scientists in China. It could be scientists in America.
What's
like,
your
how do you
idea?
prove that?
I just told you that there's scientists in America, their governments, their presidents and prime ministers and kings and emperors or whatever, but ultimately they have allegiance to these beings.
But that's a theory, right? You would
It's
say
not
that's a
theory
theory, or
because there are
it's a fact.
people who are involved in this, known as whistleblowers, that have started to come out and tell you things. Our master teacher is an extraterrestrial that wrote books on this 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And everyone was saying like, it's not true, it's not true, there's no aliens, there's no this, there's no that. But today, everyone cannot disprove anything that he wrote in these books.
So you're saying your teacher is an alien, extraterrestrial?
He's an extraterrestrial.
So what's his background, just so we can understand?
His extraterrestrial background?
Like him, what is...
You're an extraterrestrial.
Okay, cool.
Do you know what I mean by that? Well, let me just
Everyone's
break it down.
extraterrestrial. You're saying everyone.
No, right, yeah, because in your Bible, in your Quran, it tells you that God breathed into man and man became a living soul. So the part of you that is God, it's not from here. That's the extraterrestrial part of you. Then your physical you is from the elements of the environment you're here. That's why you call it a soul and you call it a spirit, because it goes back to where it comes from. So when we say that, people think, oh, like we're not saying it in the way that your mind is picturing an alien or an extraterrestrial. We're saying something that comes from somewhere else, not from this plane, not from the terrain, not from this planet. It's an extraterrestrial. So him, we mentioned before that original life forms from Sirius and Orion, these are constellations. Yeah, he's from another planet known as Risk, which is in another galaxy known as Ilion. It's the 19th galaxy. So
your teacher's from there.
Yeah, he's what you're calling. Yeah.
So are other people from there, or
just like I just gave you the example of your soul and spirit is from somewhere else, and in that place it takes on a different form because the rules of that environment are different. So when you shed this physical body, you still exist in a different realm. If you go to that realm, like the spiritual realm or the mental realm or the soul realm, they're different realms. So we're saying, because people are not aware of their origins from that realm, they find it spooky when we say you're from somewhere else, like another planet or another galaxy.
Well, now that you've explained it, you think everyone's extraterrestrial. Then it's like, okay, that's normal then.
The
The
DNA,
baseline is like, no,
it's the
okay,
DNA.
okay, you believe it's about DNA. Then it's like, it's not a, oh no, you're an alien. Everything's like,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying, because
The
the
baseline, okay.
movies and
That's
the-
your- that's
they're
like something-
giving you a
it's good to have
picture of
this
what-
definition of what you believe.
It's not what we
That's
believe,
No,
that's
what
what
you
I'm
understand as alien. Like,
No, listen.
because we like
You're
because
trying to tell us.
no.
what-
I'm trying to say what my understanding is now. Like
Yeah.
my understanding is it's an alien from another planet and like ET, that kind of
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. That's
Like,
the movies that
yeah,
have done
that's
that.
what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
That would be my understanding.
Yeah.
Like for yours.
Yeah, but
you're
there
saying-
are beings like that that look completely different to you.
Okay, and then,
from somewhere
but
else.
from your saying, what you're saying is everyone's alien because God gave us something within us.
No,
so
no.
we are.
Let me tell you what we're
no,
saying.
no.
Right. We break it down like when you look at the language, the words you're using are explaining exactly what it is. But then somebody else will make a movie or interpret that word to you and say it means this. But if you don't go and do the research for yourself, you can't prove that. Yeah, you're just going by a belief system. But we're saying there are other life forms from other places, because where you evolve, the environment you're in is going to mean you're going to take on a different form. This is why they show you movies like Star Trek and Star Wars, where they show different types of beings. So it is possible that those beings are looking at you like, oh, look how ugly that thing is. The same way you're looking at them. But because you think this is beautiful and how we look, you're thinking they look hideous or they look like, do you know what I mean? But they're more intelligent. Just because they look differently doesn't mean, there are different types of extraterrestrials. We've mentioned the Deros, the Greys, the Reptilians, the Draconians, the Ashtar Federation, and our ancestors, the Natharu, the Anunnaki. There's so many, but we're so limited in our mind and
So
intelligence.
are any of these superior than others, or are they all equal?
Intelligent, not superior.
The-
You can
some
be
are
more
more
intelligent than someone else.
Naturally more intelligent.
Yeah.
And then that can translate into a person that's here. Right?
What you do by way
Exactly.
of your intelligence.
Exactly.
I'd just like to ask you this question: is where do the angels come from? Where does God come from?
God isn't created. God has always been there.
Okay, then where does the angels come from?
God has created the angels.
Oh, where did He create them?
Where? I don't know. It could be in the heavens,
Okay.
but
You said the word heaven. What's the word heaven in Arabic?
Jannah.
Jannah. No, that's a place.
Okay.
That's what they call paradise, don't they?
Okay.
The Prophet just said it. Samawati, innit? Or Samawati, that they call the heavens.
Okay.
And earlier on, during the day, Second told you that the word heaven in the Greek is Uranus. Go to Matthew chapter 6 verse 9, and Jesus said, "Pray ye after this manner, our Father who art in heaven." The word heaven is Uranus, or the Orion star constellation. So according, but in in the Hebrew, the word for heaven is Shemayim. Shemayim, that's heaven. So it's somewhere outside of the Earth's atmosphere. So that's actually saying that Allah, what do you call it? Allah, God, Theos, or Elohim, they are extraterrestrials that came down to the planet Earth. The angels are extraterrestrials. They came down to the planet Earth to do what they had to do. And most of them, not just the gods, but Allah, and in a plural, because there's a plural for Allah in the Quran. Do you know what it is?
What you tell me?
You don't know. You see,
no. Go on.
Alihat. The word Alihat is Allah's. That's a plural. You got Allahumma, Allah and them. You got Alihin, which is Allah in the dual. You see? Now, where do they come from? They are coming from different star systems, as we mentioned before, to this planet Earth, and most of them are carnivores. The gods of the scriptures are carnivores who come here to eat human beings, and they're coming back to eat human beings once again. And in the Bible or in the scriptures, there's a conflict of the gods. You've got two brothers. Earlier we mentioned about the Anunnaki, and we mentioned about the Most High, according to them, it's called Anu. In the Arabic, the word they use is El-Aliyu, the 36th attribute of Allah. El-Aliyu, correct?
36 attributes
Yeah.
of Allah. There's 99.
99
Yeah, but the
36
36
one
one
is
is
Al-Aliyu.
Okay, oh, you're talking about the 36.
Yeah.
It's called the El-Aliyu, am I correct?
I don't know that.
El
El-Aliyum, I don't know what that is.
Al-Ali means the highest.
So,
you
so
say-
you know when you say those nine attributes,
Rahman Rahim.
Ar-Rahman,
Yeah.
Ar-Rahim, one of them is Al-Aliyum, which
Okay.
is what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's
It's
the
to say
36.
the Most High. And
Okay, I was thinking you're saying something else.
No, only Zikri.
Yeah.
Allah.
Yeah.
Quick question though, why do angels wear robes?
I don't know if they wear robes.
They do, because it tells you in the Quran they came in a white robes.
Okay,
Why do they need to wear clothes?
I don't know.
Why do you wear clothes?
Because I like it.
If they're is that it? You probably get arrested if you start walking down the street with no clothes.
Based on the rules and laws of this country.
There's rules and laws, and I'm saying that when you talk about Gabriel coming to Muhammad, he was wearing a white robe, which shows you that they are humanoid. They take on a form. Because if you're a spirit, you won't need to wear clothes.
No, they can take a form just
Yeah,
because.
that's what I'm saying.
If you want to present,
So-
like you said,
so
if you want
that's
to
what I
present
was
yourself
saying
not
to
to
you, that-
scare people, because
Scare people.
No, if you see something that's not similar to you, you might be scared, right?
Okay, but I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why they can take the form of humanoids to
Right, so
come
but
across.
you're
and then-
accepting what we said before, that when you're not in the physical world, you're still there but not in the same form. So when you come here, you take on a physical form, and you
No,
have to
like
wear
I said,
clothes.
there's jinns. Like I believe in jinns, they can take human form. So there's no dispute on that. Like
Okay.
for me, there are
But it's not
other
only
things that
jinns,
I know.
that's what I'm saying.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. I
Yeah.
never said, oh, there can't be anything that can take humanoid form, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
White people don't exist.
You don't agree that white people don't exist? Okay. Where are they?
I'm not white. I don't know why.
They don't exist.
Women in the background.
Exactly.
Where are they?
What do you mean?
We said they don't exist, and you said you disagree. So
I'm
I'm
a
asking.
white person.
Are you?
See, that's a racial.
Well, so what's this?
Well, that's a white, but
Oh, white.
White.
So,
differentiation of
so
white.
there's a white then.
No.
so
You're
like,
not
what do
actually
you call
white.
me? Like,
What we're saying is the racial concept of white is actually a made-up concept. It's actually not a scientific concept. When you go and research what the real meaning of what that word is Caucasian. You're not going to find the word white as a meaning defining who you are, because it's a racial concept that was coined in the 1800s to justify certain things that was being done in that time. Like when they were doing anthropology and also trying to find out who the first man was and to justify enslaving certain people into captivity, they used that as a form of superiority. Because if you look at the concept of white, name me something that's pure, that's white.
pure?
I'll give you an example. You heard of angel's food cake? You never heard of angel's food cake?
No.
Okay, you ever heard of devil's food cake?
No.
Is this a dessert?
These are desserts.
As like
Yeah, that,
And so you go to
The little different coloured things, right?
yeah. What colours are they? What's Angel's food cake look like?
I don't know, there's a pink in there, there's a white cream in there, there's
Right, and then Devil's food cake,
no idea what it looks like.
it's brown.
Is it chocolate?
Yeah, it's chocolate.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is showing you it's a racial thing that's been implanted into children's minds or into people's minds. You see, it's a psychological thing to make you look like people are inferior. It's an actual made concept, that the word race. You don't have to look. Believe me, just go and look up the word race. The term didn't exist in the 17th and before the 16th century, etc. These were terms that were brought in because certain establishments, wanted to justify putting certain other people and subjugating them into a form of slavery. You know what slavery is about, right? Yeah. So this is what is actually the racial term was coined because of that, and to justify that some people were more superior than others. That's why I gave you the example of Hitler. Yeah, Hitler wanted to create a white supreme race. He referred to them as the Aryan race. You with me?
So you're saying I'm an Aryan person?
No, what I'm saying is Hitler was trying to create a particular race known as the Aryan race, who were blonde hair and blue-eyed. You understand? Oh, so you got the trait of blue eyes and light blonde to blondish hair. Do you understand? But there was an actual race of people known as the Aryans who were pale skin, grey eyes, and blonde hair that lived in Scandinavia. You understand? These were Scandinavians. You don't find many Scandinavians nowadays, because there's been a mixture of different races. The majority of people that you see now have got dark hair and dark eyes. And like I said, that term white is a racial term coined up by anthropologists and other people to justify certain things. So there's no such person as a white person.
So what am I?
Okay,
we'll touch on that.
Yeah, so we look at things of what they really are based on actual facts and natural ether energy, yeah? So the difference between you and us is because you're lacking melanin. So you're pale because you don't produce as much melanin as we do. So the master teacher put out a book called The Pale Man, because he explains how you got to that point of being pale, yeah? It's not you're white and we're black, because we're not black, but we are referred to as black people. But if you look at the blacks that you see around, we are not the same complexion as this.
Yeah.
So we're actually brown. But when you go into the language, that's actually new, or goes into the fact that the reason we're like this is because originally in the right atmosphere we were green, right? This is like rusting, because when you look at anything that's healthy on the planet, the chlorophyll, like in plants and so on, it's because they are green because they're getting that nutrients from the sun. And we used to have that, we lost the magnesium. So this is why we're the way we are. So when you look at a Caucasian person, the word Caucasian has a meaning. It's from the Caucasus Mountains. They came from the Caucasus Mountains. That's why it became Caucasian. And the Asian, they are the Dravidians, or like I said before, when anthropologists are classifying us today, they will call them the Denisovan or the Homo florensis. So if you were to put everyone in a line, we will be the darkest with the 9 ether woolly hair. Then you will get the Dravidian, who's brown skin, but they've got straight dark hair. And then you'll have the Caucasian that comes from the Asian, who will be lighter skin and will have blonde fur or different variations of fur. So we classify people based on what they are, not based on a racial term that divides us and say, because you're black, you're this, you do all the crime, you do all of whatever negative stuff they want to say, and because you're white, you're this, or because you're whatever other race. So it's based on who and what you really are, and not what you have accepted. And the acceptance is based on the programming. And the thing my brother left out about the blonde hair, blue eyes is that Hitler himself wasn't even blonde hair, blue eyes.
yeah.
He was being influenced by these beings from Aldebaran known as the Ashtar Command, or the Pleiadians, who were responsible for the gravitation of the Adamites.
And they had blonde hair.
And they had blonde hair, blue eyes. So they were fooling him to say this is a superior race. They showed him certain technology, gave him like, you know, during the war, he had certain technology and like, so he looked at them like being gods because they gave him like how to do the technology for flying saucers, hovercraft and certain things. So he looked up to them as gods, and they chose him by using a witch called Madame Blavatsky through the Thule Society. They channeled her, and then they picked Hitler as their guy, and they were the ones that were trying to help him win the war because they wanted to control the planet. But he ended up losing anyway. Well, there was another part of that called the Third Reich, which actually won the war,
yeah.
but Germany lost the war. But that goes into a lot of things that you have to go and do more research and study on.
Yeah.
The Jesus people are waiting for is Lucifer.
Hesitantly, but go on then, why do you disagree?
So you're saying the Jesus people are waiting for is Lucifer, and Lucifer, you're saying, would you say is the devil, or do you believe in the devil? Do you know of the devil?
Yes,
It's
yes,
more like
yes,
you define
yes, yes.
who do you think is Jesus?
We'll go with the yes answer.
Because you might think Jesus is something else, or Lucifer.
No,
You
we
explain.
agree with
we
you. Yeah,
agree.
yeah, we agree.
So Jesus, as in the Jesus that I believe in,
I don't know which one you believe in.
Isa, we would call her Isa,
Okay,
or you
but
might know him as
that's-
Yeshua or Josh.
So they're different ones.
So
different
no
ones.
different names. I'm just saying that's the same one you think you're saying, right? Jesus.
Well, we're going by Jesus according to the Christian religion, because that's where you get the word Jesus. Like you said, when
Son
you
of
go
Mary.
to Arabic,
You say Son of Mary.
Arabic is
that
Isa.
because I just want to make sure we're talking
on
the same
page,
people.
yeah.
Jesus, and you're talking about Lucifer being the devil, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the prompt again?
That the Jesus people are waiting
waiting
for
for
Is actually the devil.
Yes.
Okay, I disagree. Yeah.
Why?
And so in Islam, our belief is Jesus is in the heaven. He's going to come back on the day of judgment to defeat the Antichrist. So that's my belief is Jesus will come back, and that's not the devil.
When?
On the day of judgment, whenever that is, the day of reckoning, whenever
So
that
no
will
one
be. I don't
knows
know
when
when it
this
is.
is.
I don't know when it is. If I knew, I might be doing other things than being here.
He says
I might-
something very interesting. He used the word Jesus come back to defeat the Antichrist. So Christ is coming back to defeat someone who's against him. Is that so? What is the Antichrist to you?
So Jesus is a prophet to me, okay? And Jesus will come back to be Dajjal, which is a beast, and yeah, and it's the sign of end of times, etc.
Oh, okay.
And what we understand is this person will try and take people away from God and try and confuse people, and that's why Jesus will come down at the end of times.
Okay, when you say the Antichrist, because it all got to do with language. Now, did you know
Dajjal, let's say Dajjal then.
Dajjal, whatever you call it, but
I just want to make sure you knew,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
and other people knew what I meant.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why, to make it easier.
we-
right. When you say Antichrist, we talk about a Messiah type character, because Jesus was also referred to as the Messiah. But it's John chapter 1 verse 41 says, "We have found the Messiah," which is interpreted as the Christ. So really, the proper meaning should be Messiah. So there is an anti-Messiah according to the scriptures, according to John chapter 1 verse 41. Okay, so if there's an Antichrist, you're saying that there's an anti-Messiah, or let's put it another way, an anointed cherub. That anointed cherub in the Bible is referred to as halal. You notice how the word halal and halal is very similar phonetically. I wonder there's something in that. What are the attributes of the Dajjal or the Antichrist? Anyone? What would be the attributes of a Dajjal or an Antichrist? No one knows.
Evil?
Okay. Evil.
Yeah.
Or is it that they will conceal what they know to be right knowledge?
Kafarun.
I was just about to say, yeah. If Jesus come back today, who would accept him?
How do you even know how would you know it's him?
How do you know if Jesus came back today, you know it's him? What would you think?
Look for the halo.
Okay.
That's funny.
Jesus comes back today. What do you think would be the first thing he would tell the people? Would it be my name is not Jesus? Would he come back and say, first of all, my name is...
My name, that sounds like an Eminem thing.
My name is...
Would the real Jesus please stand up?
How do you know the real Messiah is not walking the planet Earth right now? Setting the record straight. Having the ability to differentiate, as we said earlier on, between the allegorical portions of the scriptures and the decisive portions of the scriptures. Wouldn't Jesus come, and you know the word Jesus loosely, wouldn't Jesus come and say, this is how it is. This is the right knowledge I'm giving you. This is the right wisdom I'm giving you, and this is the right understanding I'm giving you, until you raise your minds up to receive the right understanding unto sound right reasoning. Is this something that Jesus will tell us and to prepare us for the Antichrist, or to let us know now Antichrist is coming? The Antichrist is already here.
Also, you said so much, and again, we have to dissect it, because we said we found the Messiah who's been interpreted as the Christ. And then there's no J's or V's in Hebrew. So how do you even get to the word Jesus? So what we're saying is, again, if you start to study the scriptures and break them down and break the words down, you get a clear picture. In Islam, they would refer to Iblis, right? Do you know who Iblis is?
As who?
No, I'm asking, who
Are
is
you
Iblis?
relating that to Jesus?
I'm asking you a question. Who is Iblis?
The devil.
Okay. The rebellious one, right? Who did he rebel against?
Against Allah.
Right, okay, so Jesus came before, you say, yeah? Do you accept that he came before?
As in before now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you said he's coming back,
Yeah.
so he came before.
Yep.
What was the purpose of him coming?
To give a message. He was a prophet.
Okay, what was the message?
Well, my belief is Islam has been from the beginning. The word came from Allah, and Islam has always been there. It's just that, like, Jesus came, Moses, they came with a message, it got lost, and the Quran is the final message which has been now preserved. So my understanding, Islam has always been there. There has been messages from different messengers, and he was one of them.
Right, so I asked what was his purpose, and because as a Muslim, do you accept the Bible and the Torah and the New Testament and everything that it says in there?
I don't believe that it is preserved as the true word of Allah.
So how?
But there are bits in there that would be accurate, but it
do
would
you
only be
accept that
verified.
Jesus came to die for your sins and remove sins from the world?
No, because that's in the Bible, right? That's a
Yeah, that's
Christian
what I'm saying.
belief,
So
right?
I'm
That's
trying
a
to
Christian
see if
belief.
you accept the Bible.
No, I don't accept the Bible as
So
my
where
book
do you
of
get
faith.
the bit about him coming back to fight the Dajjal and all that from?
So we follow the Quran and the Hadith.
So you don't follow the Injil?
The Injil is what we term as the Bible in Arabic, and
That's what I just
the
asked.
only bits that we can verify within the Quran we follow.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Which part of the book of Revelations do you follow then?
All right, we can sit down and write down.
Oh, not like that.
No,
I'm saying,
Just an example.
No, there'll be wherever that we can cross-reference to the Quran, we'll follow.
okay, so do you know about Lucifer is mentioned in the Bible as the morning star? No? Yes?
I would have probably
Okay.
heard about it, but
So
I don't know if it's
Hey
true or
Lao
not,
is
because I don't
what
study.
Okay, so when
Bible like that.
Habtu was saying Hey Lao, that's talking about Lucifer, because when he's referred to in Isaiah as the morning star, this is, who else is referred to as the morning star? Jesus. So when we're saying basically what's happened is that the world has been deceived, because it says that the devil will make evil fair seeming. So they've been deceived to expect and wait for this person that's going to come, who already came to remove sin from the world, but obviously he got crucified and there's still sin in the world, so there was really no purpose of him coming, if you follow the narrative of what they're saying. So he's coming back again this time to fight and remove the Antichrist. But the Antichrist is the person that you're being tricked to wait for to come. And he's already here too, because what does the word anti means? To go against, anti, go the other way, like anti-clockwise. You're going against Christ. So today, the books that most people are following religion were coming from Paul, or you say Saul, or I don't know, in Islam, do you recognize Paul? Okay.
Is he an anonymous character in the Bible?
This is where most of the writings in Christianity today come from. And he was going against the teachings of Jesus. So that's why he was referred to as the Antichrist. But people think it's one person. But there are many Antichrists, just like there are many devils. But they're giving you the impression there's only one person called the devil, and he's got a pitchfork and he's in a place called hell, which doesn't exist. So you don't have to worry, because you're not it doesn't exist. Yeah. So they make up a lot of things, but they don't read the scriptures to see that the Antichrist is already here. And when you start to look at what's going on the planet, the master teachers put out a book called Leviathan 666, the Antichrist. And he shows you on the front cover all the world governments and the people that are conspiring to bring about this Antichrist. They showed you movies like Rosemary's Babies, where this person was actually born. And he's the person that was controlling a beast called IBM 366, which is a computer that is used to run the internet around the world, the World Wide Web, which is how most people are getting trapped by this web. And it goes into a lot of other things. We talks about the wars that are going on right now. And so, yeah, they're thinking they're trying to build a temple right now. This is what the war's going on with, the land grab between Israel and, Palestine and all of this. They're trying to prepare for this, and they're saying they're going to tell the world, they're going to even use technology they've been talking about, like blue beam and all this kind of stuff, to fool the masses in thinking that it's the return of this person. But
so do you believe
this Antichrist.
Do you believe in the Messiah, and do you believe the Messiah is here?
This is what I'm saying. When we go into the language, the word Messiah means anointed.
Okay.
Yeah, but people will interpret it to be like, oh, it's just one person that's coming. Many people have been called messiahs or anointed over the time, but the anointed black Messiah is here right now. That's who we call Dr. Malachi Z. York or Partner Babianu.
So I don't know, is he alive right now?
Yes.
Oh, so where is he right now?
Right now he's incarcerated in Florida, AdMax, which is Colorado. Sorry, yeah.
The Bible and Quran are old and outdated.
50-50.
Oh, let's start 50-50 because she hasn't had
You're on the
word
fence,
yet.
isn't it?
You used that already, you have to call a friend now.
All right, I'll keep my flag down then.
Oh.
Oh, you got scared
Do you know, I might as well stand over there.
Okay,
Go on.
bro.
No, because the
So
Quran.
disagree.
Yeah, so the Quran has been preserved because there's a reason. It's the word of God. It will carry on, and it's giving us a way of life, how to carry on ourselves. We've got the hadith as well, but you're talking about Quran specifically. It's teaching us the word of God. It can't be outdated, it is, but you don't believe in God in the way I believe in God, and it's the words that we should follow. So I don't believe it's outdated. It can't be outdated. It is the spoken word of God.
Did you know in the Quran, chapter 45, verse 1 to 6, 7, tells you not to follow hadith? Did you know that? In the Arabic?
Mm-hmm.
And
It tells you not to follow
That's right.
the sayings and recordings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
It says, let me read it. My Arabic's not very good,
Okay.
but I'll read it to you. It says, Tilka ayatullah na'nuha alayka bil haq fabi ay hadith ba'dullah wa yatihi yu'minun. Can you translate that into English?
No, you're going to translate it, right?
that says, Tilka ayatullah. These are the signs of Allah, natluha alayka bil haq. That we, Allah,
Follow the truth.
I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
You didn't want to do it. And then
No, go on.
Okay, go.
No, explain it. Go on, explain it.
It says, Tilka ayatullah. These are the signs of Allah, natluha alayka bil haq. That we recite unto you, Muhammad, by way of the actual facts. Fabi'ai, then by which hadith tells a man, Fabi'ai hadithin, ba'dullah, after Allah, wa yaktihi, and his signs, yu'minun, will you put your faith in? Quran chapter 45 verse 1 to 6. That's what it says in the Arabic. These are the signs of Allah that we, Allah and the angels, recite to you, Muhammad, by way of the facts. So by which hadith, after Allah and his signs, which is the Quran and the other scriptures, will you put your faith in? The only thing that came after the Quran was what? The hadith. That, unless you're trying to tell me that that's not what it means, because it's there.
yeah.
Go on, carry on explaining.
You know, so what we are saying is that, the
prompt.
The prompt brothers say is that the Bible and Quran, Old Testament, New Testament, and Last Testament had its expiration date in the year 2000 AD. You call the Quran the Last Testament, you refer to Muhammad as the last prophet, and it doesn't say that in the Quran. It says Khatam Anbiya. And what does Khatam mean?
Seal.
It means seal. What's the word for last in Arabic? Akhir. Am I right?
So I didn't know you were asking for an Arabic lesson.
Oh no, it's not Arabic. Listen.
I'm not an Arab. I'm from Bangladesh. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not an Arab.
Okay, that makes sense.
You keep.
I'm
I'm not an expert in translation of the Quran.
Okay.
Like I'm not an expert.
No, fine.
So-
That's fine.
so-
It's just that when we say that, we say to Christians, Muslims, and Jews
Study
that
the
they
language.
don't know the words of.
Like I said at the beginning, I'm a student. I don't.
No,
think
that's
like-
fine. That's
like-
fine. We're all learning, yeah. But what I'm saying is, a Christian will say, "This is the word of God." A Muslim will say, "This is the words of Allah." A Jew will say, "This is the word of Yahweh," or whatever. We say to them, "You've never read the words of Allah. You've never read the words of God. You're reading translations, and in fact, very bad copies of mistranslations. So you're under the impression you're getting the message, but you're not. Unless you speak the language, you're literally at the hands of the misinterpreters. Even the Bible, it was like King James, which is the one that a lot of people use, right? They sat down in the Nicaea Council and they decided which books to compile into what you're calling the Bible today. So most people don't even know the words of the God or the Allah that they say in their following. And this is where the Antichrist and his followers have stepped in to fool everyone by giving you wrong information and mistranslations. Unless you go into the words and actually break it down, you will see that you're being misguided, thinking you're doing the right thing, but you're serving the Antichrist. And this is a harsh reality for people that have been believing and following something for so long. And you say like, oh, it's Islam's always been there. Islam, the Quran has nothing to do with AI in it. It doesn't speak about the internet. It doesn't speak about a lot of the things we're experiencing today in real life. So how can it be the final book and the final message and everything when it has nothing to do with, it's lacking in so much things that are happening right now in real time today. So that's why we say those books expired in the year 2000. And the Holy Tablets also expired, but before then, it cleared up all the misconceptions and all the misinformation of the Bible, the Quran, and all the other books put together.
So,
the Sumerian.
So
everything.
Holy Tablets expired as well,
Yeah,
according to you.
because
So what do you follow now?
We're now in what we call the hereafter doctrine. The hereafter, all of those have gone or have expired. And the hereafter doctrine is where we're here to teach the actual facts, the master's secrets, the things that were left out or were hidden. and the way, which is our way, Patarok.
Okay, so now that expired, where do you get your information from? Is it from the master who's in prison right now?
Okay, that's a very good question. Do you know the master is mentioned in the Quran?
Which master?
The one you just referred to.
You're talking about your master.
teacher.
Who you
No, our master
not our
teacher.
master, the master.
Okay,
teacher.
your master teacher.
No,
The
the
master
master
teacher.
teacher.
But I don't know what you're defining that as. So I'm
But
going to refer to
that's why I
your
asked
master.
you, do you
So-
know he's mentioned in the Quran?
No, but I don't know what you're referring to as the
Okay.
master. That's why.
Okay, in the
There's-
Quran, do you know there are many books that are also missing from the Quran? Like a Sahuf.
You know, there's a Suhuf of Abraham, Suhuf of Adam. Did you know this?
There's nothing missing from the Quran.
Yeah.
No, that's what you're saying, but
Yeah,
it
that's what I'm
tells you
saying.
in the Quran.
It says the pure pages.
Right, and he's referred to as the green one in the Quran. Do you know who the green one is?
You tell me.
Al-Khidir.
Al-Khadir.
So the green one is the same being like we're saying is here now. And he is the one that Abraham and all these other people, Moses, Jesus, were taught under. Like he's referred to in the Bible as Jesus being the prince after the order of Melchizedek, who's the green one, Al-Khadir, as we just said. So people just don't know because they're not studying their books. And
Can I just quickly? You got the esoteric, yeah? Do you know what the esoteric means? Like the spiritual writings that talks, the Quran reveals certain things. These were learned men known as the Mutasawwif, yeah, the Sufi order. That's the spiritual aspect. Then you also got the physical aspect where they learn about certain things like the rituals and the prayers, etc. That's the physical aspect. Until you're able to marry the two together, you never understand who Al-Khadir is. Because Al-Khadir is mentioned in the Mutasawwif as being the one that will incarnate every so often to teach and take man to a higher level.
So when I say I'm like anti-God, it's because of my like religious trauma, but that's all with Christianity. Because I think like really extreme Christians is like a cult, like the born again stuff. But do you agree that the Christian God is a monster?
What do you think?
Yeah. That's what like my main belief is that he's a monster, which is why I left it.
Why?
Oh, well, for one thing, the gospel is a contradiction because it says it's meant to be a free gift, but you also have to like give your life to Christ. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's the Christianity concept is something that was created by the Nicene Council. Are you aware of the Nicene Council?
No.
Okay, so this is 325 AD. Nicene Council, they came together, okay, to create your religious books, which became your 66 books, okay? So the concept of God and everything was born from that. So when we're saying, when you're saying that God is a monster, it depends on what perspective, what angle you're looking at it from. Because if a God that's supposed to be compassionate, all loving, all knowing, etc., would he send people to go and kill other people?
No.
He wouldn't, would he? But in the scriptures, that's what he does.
Yeah, I
Do you
agree.
see what I'm saying? He ordains Abraham, David, etc., to go and kill other tribes so that they could take the land, etc. You with me? He kills unborn children. Yeah, in all of these kind of things. So the sense of being an all-loving God, that goes out the window, because now you're dealing with a being that he's intermittently he changes his mind. You know, 1 minute he grieved, another minute he's saying that he wants to destroy man. Yeah. So in that sense, if you're understanding it from that point of view, then yes, that is a monster. Because what is a monster? A person that does destruction. You with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at those, understanding those definitions, and then you know compare it to how the Bible is made up and what God does, that's a monstrous act. You understand?
Yeah.
You wanna
Yeah, sure. No one that is not a monster is gonna create a place called hell to torture you and where you're gonna burn forever. And he sets up things for your failure, like putting a tree in the garden that is beautiful and then saying that the beast of the field or the serpent was the most cunning beast in the field at the time, and knowing that Eve was going to be conned by him. So he sets up all these scenarios, and then when it happens, he comes and punishes you. But he could have prevented everything. Like they say, he can do anything, and he can click his fingers and say, let there be light and let there be this. But when we ask him to get rid of all the suffering in the world and all the sins and all the problems and click his fingers, he can't do that. But he can punish you when you go to hell. And when you really start studying, like I was saying before, this is what Christianity today is. So there's true Christianity, or should I say the true facts and life of a being that the story was copied from, and then now there's a fictitious thing called Christians, right? I'm not talking about good people that mean well and want to do the right thing. When you look at the word Christian in itself, it's an anagram where you can read it backwards and you see Antichrist. So people that are coming to you saying they're coming in the name of Christ, when Jesus, or coming in the name of Jesus, or that person never existed. So how can you come in the name, or he never knew that name? That's why he said, if you go to like the end of the world and Matthew, and they're talking about, the end of the world, he said he's going to say, I never knew you, if you say I was doing this in your name, because he told you not to do anything in his name. He said, they asked him, how shall we know of the signs of coming, and in which manner shall we pray? And he said, pray in this manner, our Father, not my Father or me, who is where? Who are in heaven, right? Heaven is not here. And he says, hallowed be thy name. That means holy is his name, yeah? Thy kingdom, thy come, to earth as it is in heaven. So he was completely separating that you should worship him or pray to him or ask him for anything or get married in his name or any of the things that people are doing today in his name, whereas it's not supposed to be in his name. So, but as Usia just said, when you look throughout from Genesis all the way to the book of Revelations, the things that God is doing are not good things. Drowning all the animals, flooding everybody, like making the Pharaoh's heart harden when, it's just doing things, putting them through eating manna and walking through like the desert and all of that stuff, and just like none of it makes sense. So yeah, the God of the Bible, some of them are evil, but we say that to say these are the same Enlil and Enki that we're talking of, the Anunnaki, that are being translated into the Bible as Baal, as Yahweh. And like again, I think Usia said earlier on, when you look at the word alien, the word En is there, so you're looking at Enki, and you're looking at the sons of Anu and Anu's family that are doing all the experiments. One is agreeable, one is disagreeable. So the disagreeable ones are it goes on to be the sons of Nana is the son of Enlil, who we're calling the Antichrist, that people are thinking is coming back, but they say Jesus is coming back, but it's really Nana who's the Antichrist. And then he has a chosen people on the planet who are basically working for him or to him, and that's what you're seeing playing out on the planet with the wars and everything that's going on.
Yeah, just add a little build. So they talk about this loving God, and it says God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. Now, if God so loved the world, wouldn't he have come himself? What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, so why does he? So God's up there in the bedroom. He's sleeping. He hears the noise downstairs. Until his son go downstairs and fix up the place, see what's going on downstairs. The son goes downstairs, and that's what happens. He gets crucified, didn't he? So why didn't God, spare Jesus and
Well, I didn't even know that was going to happen.
Yeah, because he knows it, or does he know everything? I don't really know. So the trick is, like Saken just said, is that the Messiah who they're expecting is actually, as he said, is one called Nanar. And if you go to Revelation, I think it's about Revelation about 18, where it talks about there's going to be bloodshed. Now, the gods of the Bible, they're carnivorous, and you know, if you look at the Cain and Abel story, Genesis chapter 4, you find that from Genesis chapter 1 up until about Genesis chapter 9, everyone was just eating fruit and veg. Okay, they were never given the ordinance to start eating meat. However, in Genesis chapter 4, where Genesis chapter 4 talks about Cain being a farmer, a tiller of the ground. That's what they use. The word tiller really means slave of the ground, and Abel was a keeper of sheep. That sheep was actually people, but that's another story. So now, when they came to give their offering to God, which was actually in actuality Nanar, Cain's offering was rejected. The reason for that is because God didn't like fruit and veg. When Abel gave his offering of the finest calf, right, it was accepted. What was God going to do with that calf that Abel offered him? What do you think? If someone gives you an offering, what are you going to do with it? Fruit and veg or a lamb chop?
Eat it, I guess.
Do you hear anything about cooking the meat?
No.
In the Genesis, where Genesis 14, where Abraham he saw the 3 angels plus the Lord, or 2 angels plus the Lord was with them, and Abraham told his servant, "Go and get some a calf or whatever, the best flock, whatever it is, and give it to God and the angels," and they did eat. Get the fattest, knead the finest bread and butter and milk, and have the meat. It doesn't tell you anything about putting it in the oven and cooking it. They're eating it raw.
Yeah.
I mean, when Abraham, God said that to tell Abraham, get Isaac and put him on the altar, that's for food. God wanted to eat him. Then another God stepped in and said, no, replace Isaac with a lamb or goat or whatever. Why? God was going to eat him.
Yeah.
The day of Pentecost, if you don't put the mark on the post, right, God will come out. God was and the angels of death, whatever they call it, will come and kill the people and eat them.
Mm-hmm.
In Christianity, they've got the Eucharist. Do you know what that is? They have this is drink the wine. This is the representative of the the blood of Christ, and the bread is the flesh of Christ. Blood of Christ, flesh. Isn't that cannibalism?
Yeah.
What more do you need to know about that story? And like the second says, you got Christians, and you read from back to front, you get Antichrist.
See, these stories have been they've been put into ritual form. You know what a ritual is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rituals have replaced what was taking place thousands of years ago, where they were literally doing that for real. But man has now interpreted it and made it into a ritualistic form. So it's been misunderstood the nature of these beings, or the nature of this God character in the Bible, where in the book of Leviticus he's telling the Levitical priests, kill this flock or this lamb or this goat or whatever and sprinkle his blood, because the God loved the smell of the sweet savor. That's what I mean. Think about it. One, God is unseen, so he doesn't have a body to. If somebody's unseen, that means they don't have a physical form, right? How's he smelling?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But then he said he smelled the sweet savor, so that means they must have. If he's got nostrils to smell, then let's put the other parts of God together. A nostril is connected to the eyes and the face, the mouth, the neck, the body, the arms, etc.
Literally give you quotes.
You see what I'm saying? We can give you quotes where the body parts of God.
Yeah, just literally from the head to toe
of the body parts of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you say God is a spirit, but in 1 minute he's smelling, the sweet smell of meat. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
No, I'm just adding a little bit to what you're
add
saying.
away,
Like,
man, add away.
Jesus is risen from the dead, where he comes to eat fish and eat in the upper room with the disciples. How does the spirit eat? So there's a lot of holes. That's why they call him holy, There's a lot of holes in the Holy Bible. Bill is William Shakespeare.
If you know,
And he's actually signed his signature in the Psalms 46. You count letters, I think it's 23 up, 23 down, and you come to the word shake and spear. Because when you read the Bible, it's in Shakespearean English. So it was a play that was put together by the Pisso family, Josephus Pisso. Yeah, it was a family, and they made a play, and they all acted the parts of what you're calling, the New Testament today. So these are things you can Google and find out. So it's the greatest story ever told. They made a lot of lies and told stories that didn't exist. They talk about the crucifixion. You look at the word cross, it comes from the word crux, C-R-U-X, and cross, and then fiction. And then you're double crossed because they're telling you one thing, but double cross is somebody that will pretend they're with you, but behind your back or in front of your face, as the master says. Because behind your back is there, but this is another story. But yeah, it's just a lot of misinformation that you have an agenda by some sinister beings that want to rule and control the world, and they govern with fear because people are afraid. Why do you need to be afraid of God? Because he's going to burn you up. If you don't do what he says, you're going to go to hell, and he's going to burn you up. So if you grow up as a child with that type of mentality, you're thinking, I got to believe this, because if not, I'm going to get burnt up.
That's exactly what I thought,
It's just trauma that is unnecessary, and you get put through this, and when you start to ask questions, they're like, oh, you can't do that. That's blasphemy. So you can't even think, you can't even have your own thoughts, because how is it that you're able to even think about these questions? He gave you your mind, they say, but then he doesn't know what you're going to think, and he doesn't know what's going on because he's always asking questions. You only ask questions if you don't know something. Like when Adam and Eve supposedly were hiding. But how can you hide from the sight of God who can see everything? So he comes and he says, where are you? So he doesn't know. Who told you you're naked? Who told you that, did you eat the fruit? How comes he doesn't know all of these things? But the Christians will say, oh, he's only doing that to
test us.
To test you. But he's supposed to know everything. So how can he not know the answers?
What kind of mind games does this God like to play? You know what I mean? It's like a father and a child playing hide and seek. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, where are you? I don't know where you are, but the father really knows, or the parent really knows where the child is. Do you get what I'm saying? It's just mind games. And it's because men have taken upon themselves to act like God. Do you see what I'm saying? But they've given them humanistic qualities.
That's why I said, who named God? Because God is walking and talking and doing things just like a man.
Cool. Obviously this is the first time I'm learning about what you guys follow. The closest thing that I heard previously was like Scientology. A lot of things that you were saying that's what was going through my head. How are you similar to Scientology? How are you not? And what is your actual belief system? And what do you live by every day?
Okay. So Scientology, they claim, is based on science. So in terms of anybody that is dealing with science or the scientific aspects of things, we deal with science as well, because we cover everything. We don't just deal with one aspect. So we do, we like to talk about things from a scientific point of view. But we cover religion, we cover history, we cover literally anything you want to talk about. But we are completely different because, do you know Ron Hubbard?
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, he's the founder of Scientology.
I just know Tom Cruise.
So a lot of their teachings, when you start to go into them in detail and in depth, have a background of mixing things up from do you know, the Talmud and certain things like that. They've actually got some of the information from there. But we're completely different. We're a culture. We have our own language, our own complete culture, like the first people on the planet. So yeah, we're very, very different, but they do enroll a lot of famous people, and they do these things where they teach, I've forgotten the terms now.
Eugenics.
Yes.
Eugenics.
That's it. So basically they try to say that they can take away your trauma and things that you've experienced previously in your life, so that you don't have to, kind of.
So therapy. Or
Yeah, it's more therapy based, and but we say that your experiences and everything you've gone through is what makes you a whole person or whole being. So yeah, we're completely different. Like they basically, there's a lot of secret stuff they do in terms of like you go through a list. 'Cause I know many people who have gone to Scientology and have come back, and they say like that, they have to pay money to get to the higher levels, and they get certain information as they go along. But
So like a
when you start
cult-like
to
thing.
look at, there's a dark side to what they teach, but you won't know it until you're involved.
Okay.
There's a term, I can't remember at the moment, it may come back to me later, that they utilize. But yeah, my brothers can build on that, but we're not anything like Scientology.
What about, because of the bit about Africans being, I may be saying this out of term, like being a little bit superior, that kind of, then that brings me to like Nation of Islam stuff. Anything similar to that or not?
I'm glad you mentioned Nation of Islam, because they made a pact with, or like Farrakhan was actually in alignment with Scientology, and part of that was, like we say, to kind of put the whole of the nation through their teachings of personal development. But again, if you look at Nation of Islam, that's based on religion and based on Islam and based on basically an Arab background, but they're just not the orthodox. They don't go with the orthodox in terms of like the Muslims. So they were actually seen as an outcast. But we don't really.
What we say is that, or what we teach, is Wu-Sabat or Wu-Nawapu, okay? And it's a science of sound right reasoning, utilizing science and nature, the rules of natural nature. So as a society, as an organization, as a race of people, it's a culture. It's not just you join, you sign a membership, and then you still do. It's a culture.
Way of life.
It's a way of life. That's right. So within the culture, we apply the natural rules of nature to our culture. You with me? For example, in the natural rules of nature, you won't see two different animals interacting together. Do you know what I mean? In the rules of nature. For example, you won't see a tiger and a lion together. You with me? They live according to their natures. So in every race, they have a nature that they live by, according to the rules of nature. You understand? How you eat, the types of food you, because you may eat different foods at home to what I eat. Because
So
naturally,
shouldn't we commingle? No.
not really, no, because it's to do with DNA.
I think you mean.
When you're talking
But
about
we can, in terms of
interact, but not
we can-
like,
oh, you mean commingle in that sense? No, I mean, are you
like
talking about
anything,
having children?
anything.
We can commingle. You see animals commingling all the
Yeah.
time, but they don't go out their race, do you get what I'm saying, or their nature to do other things like having children. You don't see a tiger and cheetah having children unless.
So how are we both
scientifically.
different?
DNA.
By
It
DNA.
goes by DNA.
Do you all share the same DNA? All three of you?
Like we have an ancestral root. You see what I'm saying?
So what links all three of you?
Our ancestors,
Up until where? Like,
all the way back.
so what would define that? Is it being black, African, or?
No, our DNA, which is of the Orion and Sirius system.
So I can't have it.
You
Do
can
know?
probably have
so
it.
I could
you
have
could
it.
probably have it. But
Okay.
you've chosen to live in a particular way, a way of life. Do you get what I'm saying? Which is sometimes counteracts the natural rules of order of things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example again. When you go to Zanzibar, okay?
Oh, I ain't got money for that.
No, I'm saying when you go and study the history of Zanzibar, through Arabs, etc., they enslaved Africans. That's not right by the rules of nature. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah. So this is examples of rules where you treat each other by the laws and love of nature. But when another species comes and subjugates another thing, you're going against the natural rules of order of nature. When a scientist takes an animal and breeds with another animal, or takes a fruit which is natural, like an orange, and then mixes it with a lemon and produces what is called a what's the thing?
Tangerines?
Not tangerines, another one that is produced from that. I can't come up with the name for.
Not a lime, is it?
No, it escapes me. But yeah, that's unnatural to nature. Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Cool.
Yeah, so it is the interaction of beings on this planet where when you go against the natural order of things, diseases manifest on the planet. Insanities and mental instability happens on the planet. You understand what I'm saying? So we as a culture practice the natural rules that is we found within nature.
Okay, so everyday life, how does that look, and what is the end goal?
Okay, everyday life, we do certain chants and prayers, you with me, which aligns with our natural bodies. So we have certain tones and certain frequencies that we are made up of. In universally, or as in nature has a tone and a frequency, and certain musical patterns that aligns with your natural way. Does that make sense?
Do you want to give me an example?
Yeah.
'Cause
So,
I may never have heard this.
yeah, of course, yeah. You have certain notes in music, which your body's aligned with. So we have in our culture, that aligns with us is the F note, the C note, and the A note. These are actual vibrations that align with our natural body tone. So we've got a language that allows us to speak. We speak a language that aligns with our natural body tone. You understand? Yeah.
The thing is, we are in every walks of life. So when you say in everyday life, like there are Nuwapians that are professionals, and in every.
No, I meant in terms of like
your
faith, not like
but
watch
I'm
Arsenal
trying to-
game or Chelsea game. As in,
but what I'm trying to say is, we are dispersed all over the world right now. When we have our own land and we're in our own environment, then we practice our culture just the way that, like Sikhs or the Chinese or the Hindus, they practice their culture. They have their own temples, they do everything within their culture. So we do the same, and we have our own temples. We call these sanctuaries, okay? And our own language, our own dress, our own foods. We basically just live life according to our culture. But of course, in the West, just like you're here now, you're wearing trainers, you've got a cap. You know what I mean? It's assimilation with where you're at the moment. So until we're in our natural environment, we would live fully our culture. But at the moment, we live our culture, but we also obviously it's mixed because we're still in the Western world. And
so what would you be able to do if you had your own land compared to now?
Right, because when you're here, there are there's the penal system. You got the the laws,
obviously there's
and
the
everything.
laws and certain
Right,
stuff.
so
But what would be the difference? Just to understand, would it be clothing related? Would it be
yeah? I mean,
how you carry yourself?
we would dress like this every day if we were in our natural culture. We didn't have to go and do something else where our attire might be seen to be causing a issue or whatever. So we had our own land that we were able to do this, but it was stolen. So that's what I mean by we're dispersed at the moment.
What land is that?
It's called Tamaray, Egypt of the West.
Okay.
Yeah, in Georgia.
Just like to add on, that's a very good point you brought up.
Is that Georgia in Egypt?
No, Eaterton, Georgia in America.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing you put, because that land was 476 acres. 476?
It's 476
acres of
476.
land.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah, and the master, we erected pyramids, 2 pyramids, not as grandeur as in Egypt, but it's there for initiations. We had a lot of sites of initiation sites, etc. We're performing ceremonies that has never been enacted in 10,000 years. We had everything there. But Osir was mentioned about nature, and we are what you can refer to as in our tongue is we use the word muftaru or muftaris, which means animist of natural nature. We follow the rules of natural nature. For that's who and what we are. We are of natural nature, and we refer to our deities as Nadaru or Nitiru. And you hear the word in the word Nitiru, you can hear the word nature. See, so this is what we align ourselves with, those forces of natural nature. And in ancient Tamaray, what we've done is we anthropomorphize these forces, meaning we attributed the human characteristics to these forces of nature. Now, these forces are way, way outside of your God concepts. So the reason why we anthropomorphize or attribute human characteristics to these forces is because these forces are in us, through us, and around us. And not just us, but through everybody else on the planet, including animals as well. Remember, there's the animal kingdom, there's the plant kingdom, and there's the plant kingdom, there's another kingdom, I think the fish kingdom. Anyway, so the different kingdoms, but the forces of nature interact with all of them. Sorry, the middle kingdom as well, even the rocks as well. It's not forgetting that as well, because we said earlier on that even the rocks are composed of electrons and they have intelligence as well. So they have a life force in them as well. For example, crystals, you see. So with that being said, the divine or the God or the Allah or the Yahweh is within you. So who should you be praying to? You should be praying to yourself, because you are a physical being and you are a spiritual being. The spiritual you is a divine you, it's the divine side of you, it's the God you that's within inside of you. Or let's put it this way, as a Muslim we would say that Allah is within you. You just have to come to the recognition of that actual fact and realize that when you're praying to Lord Allah within you, the God within you, the divine within inside of you. Then it will start to grow, because when you are praying, you're directing your energies outside of yourself to nothingness, so it will touch nothing. What you do, you should turn yourself inside out and transform all your prayers, all your attention within inside of you, and that will align your physical with the spiritual you, and the spiritual with the physical you. And not only you, but when you go to Jummah, or Christians go to Mass or whatever, you pray, or basically you pray in a congregation, and everyone applies that type of practices. The energy becomes enhanced, and they call that synergy. When two or more forces combine to produce an outcome greater than if done individually. So that is true prayer. You're calling upon the forces that's within you, that aligns not only with you, but also with the forces that are outside of you as well as inside and around you, 24/7.
And this is where
are you guys vegetarians?
The bosom of Allah.
Oh, okay.
Are you guys vegetarians? I'm just trying to think the nature you're saying about natural. Would you say you're vegetarians or not?
Vegans.
Some of us working, transitioning in between.
Okay,
We're
but is that part of it?
towards-
Like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm just
You know
trying to
what?
understand.
I just want
'Cause a
to
lot of
kind
it
of go
is
back
made-
to your question, yeah? It's funny, when people ask, what do you guys do in normal life? It's the same, if I was to say, what do you do in every normal life, or to a Christian or Muslim, they do the same things. Like, if you go to Jummah on a Friday and you go and praise whatever, we will connect with and have rituals to connect with our ancestors. You eat certain foods, we eat certain foods. You wear certain clothes, we wear certain clothes. You know what I mean? It's no different to what any other race or culture.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah.
I just want to understand
Yeah.
what is the difference.
I'm just trying to say to you,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not as
It's not alien. It's not something
bizarre,
alien.
yeah.
I use that term lightly,
Yeah.
but I just want to understand what is everyday life.
not
How
only
does
that,
it differ?
but it's almost like when you say to us, it's almost like we can literally be like, why do we have to not explain ourselves?
Yeah.
That's the term I'm trying to.
Justification.
It's almost
No,
like.
I'm not asking for
no,
justice.
No, I'm just trying to give you an
understand.
example.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. Remember, I'm not just speaking to you. We're
Yeah.
speaking to the whole
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
right? So I'm saying, like, a Chinese, a Sikh, or whoever, when you see them, you just know that's who they are.
That's right.
Because you recognize that's their culture. No one goes up to them and say, "Can you explain to me why do you have Mandarin, or like why do you do this?" And they just take it like that's who they are. Now, of course, if you don't know who we are, because we are the replacement of what you've been told or taught about, let's say, black or Negro people, because most of the time you see they don't have a culture. They're mostly going to be either a Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or they're going to be assimilated with other races. So no one will ask. If you see a regular guy walking down the street with his saggy pants or whatever, you kind of know what that is. But if you saw us, even though we're the same, there's a difference. And so that's why we get asked, why do you wear that? Why do you look like that? What language do you speak?
And if it doesn't fit into the norm
yeah, the
of
norm.
society,
To be fair, the only
you're
other time
strange.
I've gone up to someone and asked them was there were these Coptic Christians that had similar signs. They were in Canary Wharf. They had robes, and I was like, "Oh, what do you guys follow?" Because it looked out of place. So I went up to that. That's probably the only other time I've ever asked them.
It's only because it's been
It's
accepted.
intrigue. But it's intrigue. I was like, okay, what?
Would you say out of place though? What you
It looked out of place. They were wearing robes, black robes. There was a lot of them,
But,
and they had these symbols which I'm not used to. So I was like, oh, and it looked Egyptian. But I was like, okay, what do you follow? And then I sat there. They were like, they're from Egypt. They came over, and I can't remember. This was like at least 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So the only other time is because it's intrigue. Want to understand? Okay, what do you? Because you like a Chinese person might see every day, but someone dressed like you might not. So it's an intrigue to understand what you follow.
But
And
if you saw a Chinese person walking down the road wearing their clothes, would you go?
wearing a
They're traditional cloth
traditional
garb.
clothes. Not like when you watch kung fu movies and all that. You see.
You
they
just say,
have-
oh, there's a Chinese guy going
Now,
by.
if I see him wearing them garbs, I'm like, oh, where's he off to? But if it's just a normal everyday, I'm like, he's a boring Chinese. But if he's wearing his garbs, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Then I can ask, I'll ask questions.
But if you want to learn more about us,
Yeah.
we do have like a website, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com, and you can attend our classes and ask us more questions about. We have a way of life called Pataruk, which is the way in our culture, and that's what we live by.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Okay, first question that I wanted to ask earlier. It was about the ancestry companies taking the DNA. So back in the days, I got it as a gift. I thought no harm, done it, looked at my ancestry, boring, whatever, moved on. Now I'm at a point where, big regret. If I could click the undo button and go back and not do it, I would. And it does concern me. Every now and again, it floats back up in my head. Like, I don't read the terms and conditions. I don't know who I gave my DNA to, who's got it, what they're going to do with it, whatever else. So I kind of wanted to see your advice and thoughts on, like, is there anything I could do? I wish there was like a postcard I could send where it's just like, please give it back or whatever else. If I've already given them my DNA, is that it? Or what can I expect? Is there a way to kind of energetically tell them, please don't clone me? I don't, do you know?
You might already have a few clones walking around, so who knows?
Clone Tyrone.
Yeah.
So am I doomed then? Is that you've answered the question?
We're not saying you're doomed, but
Yes.
DNA is DNA, isn't it? It's like they can do so much with your DNA. So I mean, if you didn't read the fine prints and you literally,
to their
you're
That's it, I messed up.
to their thing. Yeah, but essentially, like we were saying, is the beings that have done this, okay, the entities that have done this. If you know, the master teacher wrote a book called Man from Planet Risk, and he exposed in there a race called the neutrinoid race. There's a hybrid race that stems from many different races. They're known as the neutrinoid race because you can't tell what race they're of. Some might have Chinese eyes, some may be woolly hair, light skin, they may seem like they're from Saudi Arabia, they may seem they're from, you can't tell their race. So that within that race, there's also blood types. And the blood type of the Rh negative is one specific blood type that these extraterrestrials are looking for because they belong to those what we refer to as the Adamite race. You with me? So within that race, they're looking for certain DNA markers, and from that, they'll be removing them off the planet. Do you get what I'm saying? For whatever purposes it is, but their job is to remove the Adamite race of the planet because the Adamites, as Sakin was saying, have become a man infestation. They become an infestation. They've mixed in with all others. So many people on the planet have got the Adamite markers, in their DNA, but they're not aware of it. But their actions show that they are Adamites, because the Adamites were created to become the world food source and also to become workers. But as time went on, they became very unruly and very destructive. And this is what is really taking place on the planet, why the world is in the state that it's in now, because the Adamites and their children, you know, and their minions, etc., who are working for them, are destroying the planet. And extraterrestrials seeing them as a, how can I say, like an infestation, like a disease on the planet. And Earth, the planet Earth itself sees them as a disease. So the planet Earth is generating viruses as well, generating diseases, plagues, all of these things to remove a certain species. So unfortunately, because we're all mixed in now, some of us have got their traits, and some of us are living in the image and likeness of the Adamites, which when you go into your Revelation, it talks about living in the image of the beast. So this is the beast that, you know, wants to basically get us to worship the beast and his image or her image, which is for us as Nagaru, we straighten our hair, we color our eyes, you know, we tattoo our bodies, etc. We do over-exaggerated things, which is against nature, which we are of. And when you're against nature, the natural rules of nature is that nature sees you as an infection. Just like your body, if you got something, it sees it and it tries to get rid of it. So that is happening on the planet, and the extraterrestrials who are looking for certain genetic types are also, once they find them, will remove them off the planet. So that's what's taking place.
So when you say remove, can I ask, would that be in terms of missing person, you don't know where they are, or would they do like a cover up where the person, I don't know, a stroke, whatever, and you, what kind of process is the removal process? Or is it like a mass thing happening in maybe like 20 years time where everyone just gets beamed up?
It's happening. Saken alluded to it. I'll let you jump in.
No, go on.
Close encounters of the fourth kind. That's what Saken was talking about.
That's right. Yeah, we have to clarify that we teach a lot of things that would need more detail, and you have to kind of study the books and come to classes to get more detail. So when we talk about blood types, we're not saying that today there aren't mixtures now with everyone with different blood types, but originally that's what it would have been. So when we're talking about the banks, the blood banks, like people don't realize there are banks of blood that have been collected, so that they will say the different types of blood. If you need an operation or a transplant or whatever, it's the same with DNA, because DNA, like the whole thing about the Bible and the Adam, as I said, relating to Edom or dealing with cloning, this is what's been going on for a very long time. And so the DNA and the blood is very important to these extraterrestrials. So the program that Usia mentioned was actually in the front cover of the Time magazine, and it was called Morph, I think Morph 2 at the time, where they're basically able to take bits of DNA from different races to create somebody or something that you wouldn't be able to recognize their race, called a neutrinoid race. The same experiments that the Anunnaki were doing and Hitler was doing, because what they're trying to do is, as they're taking people, as you say, where they've got missing people, abductions and all kinds, they're taking people, but they're also replacing them with beings that are going to be obedient and do their work.
Is that in a clone kind of way, or
yes,
like
that's right.
it's a completely different
because
location time?
The thing about the planet is that the planet weighs a particular amount, which is 6 sextillion tons. So when you remove, so 66 books of the Bible, planet, you know, it's a lot of stuff that deals with 666. And so, although someone can look at 666, and you know, people talk about the new electrons and new, you know, they say the 666 in a scientific way, it's not a bad thing. But when you look at a number like 999, you can look at it from the other way, and it's 666. So you've got two different kind of aspects going on the planet, where they're taking people for these rituals, and you know, like Moloch, where they go to the Bohemian Grove and they do all of these rituals and all the stuff that's coming out now. I don't say the word because I don't want to promote it, but all the files are now showing you all the rituals and stuff that people have been doing, flesh eating, blood drinking, you know what I mean? It's going on. So, but to keep the planet balanced, they have to repopulate. But at the same time, you've got people that are saying, like, from the Stones that were saying they need to depopulate the planet, to from some, well, we're like 8 billion people are saying now, to like 500 million.
How would that work with the weight system then? How would that work with the weight system?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of things that are natural now, and it's causing chaos on the planet. So, but they're being removed to avoid them being able to achieve doing these things. So this is why now the time is up, where, you know, the 6,000 years that they were allotted ran out in the year 2000. The problem now is that people on the planet have been under this spell for so long that they're not awake. If people were to wake up, there'll be masses of the planet that are now awake, and they wouldn't be able to be under the spell and control the masses, is what's going on at the moment. So this is why there is a race. When we say no one wins a race in racism, there is a race, because the devil, as people like to call him, or Lucifer, or the Antichrist, or whatever, they are doing their part to eliminate and destroy so many of the planets so that they can be able to control it. But they also have a fail-safe plan, which is to leave the planet if it gets too chaotic to the point where, you know, they have no control now. So they're trying to go to different planets. They try to start the sun, Europa, and they're trying to go to the Goldie. There's so many places they're trying to go, Mars, etc. So we have to do a job of waking up the people.
Do you know what? Can I ask a question at the back of that? In terms of weight, and obviously you have the physical weight, you put it on a scale, you see it. Somebody that has a soul, doesn't have a soul, spirit, consciousness, is there a difference in terms of the weight that they carry, but not on a physical scale, but that other kind of thing?
Yeah.
Would that impact this 6?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So does that mean if they just get rid of the heavier people in terms of spiritual energy and replace it with more or less people that are basically without a soul, would that balance out? Do you understand the math?
I hear you. Yeah. Why do you think Elon Musk is building 1 million robots? If you see the amount
I've connected the dots. I'm not gonna say what I've connected.
Right, there you go. So
let the watchers connect them their own nodes.
That's right. Okay. So there's a lot going on that when you really look at it, there is an agenda, and it's to plan, and they have meetings, and you know, these are like your G8s and your this meeting and that meeting, where only certain people are allowed in those meetings to basically roll out what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years and so on. And it covers everything to do with every facet of society, money, everything.
Yeah, do you know what? That brings me on to another question I had, which was the whole AI thing. So AI, ETs, that as a tool. So we often discuss that anything can be a tool. It's how you see it, how you use it. But AI, especially recently, I've realized more and more that I use my phone. I'll think of something and it pops up, and it's becoming so regular now, and it's kind of freaky. Like, oh, is there a little bit of a merge happening? And then, you know, you've got AI, ChatGPT, whatever else. And the question would be, like, do we use that? Should we stay away from it? Or is it, again, a tool? Can I use it to an extent and still expect that I won't get my energy sucked by AI?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, you use it and not it use you, like everything else. Like, people, this was funny. Let me tell you how they've basically got you to think in the way that doesn't make sense. Let me give you an example. So people have a computer screen, yeah, or a tablet or a phone, and there will be a little thing on the top with a camera, and people will go and cover the camera thinking they're not being seen, but the whole screen is watching you.
That's me.
Just what I'm saying. So mentally you're thinking, oh, I'm not being seen, so I'm going to cover. They know you're going to do that. That's the way they're thinking. But the whole screen itself is watching you. And this is why people say, well, there's many things on the internet now where people have left their phones faced up and wake up and there's somebody there looking at them and things like that. So with technology, it can be just like fire or any other thing. It can be used in an agreeable way or disagreeable way, and you can control it or it can control you. And that's where the difference is. We control it as well. You know, like, don't just, like people say, they're watching the TV. Are they watching the TV or is the TV watching them? You see, so there's so many things that are common sense, but they've become so uncommon that people don't even see it.
It's desensitization.
Yeah.
The highest form of technology is mental technology.
Metal.
Mental.
Oh, mental.
When you talk about meta, you're talking about metacognition, which is super consciousness.
Funny, that's the name, innit?
Metacognition or super consciousness, that's the highest form of technology. And the deity that was over that, or that was associated with that, is the deity Ptah. Remember we mentioned the deity Ptah is the one who was oversaw the Planet Earth project, or they call it, the planet was called Ptah-Nun, and it's called the original beings, Ptah-ites, etc., etc. So the highest form of technology is actually mental technology, and super consciousness. The way to, because you've got the conscious mind, you've got the subconscious mind, and then you've got the super conscious mind. The way the thing is to tap into that. So utilize artificial technology so you are in control of it, don't let it control you, because the frequencies will interact with your brainwave frequency, so you become hypnotized. For example, you say you're watching Netflix, you're watching a series on Netflix, then you say, let me watch the next series, the next episode. Then let me watch the next episode before 5 hours has passed. And it's done. Let me say, hear this now, program. Program is program me in English, M-E at the end, program me. So we get hooked on it, like our phones. We get hooked on it because of the frequency. We've been hypnotized unbeknown to ourselves, you see.
Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
So the key word is artificial.
Artificial, yeah.
Because it's the technology that we have, the brain's the mind, but it's artificial because it's their distorted
They're trying to
version.
control you with the artificial, but you have the natural
The original
nature.
natural, yeah.
So without you actually submitting and signing up to it and giving it energy and power, it has no effect over you.
Good. So I can scroll away tonight.
Yeah, so that's why the master's here. That's why I said. That's why he's been given what we call the golden pen, and he had 3 other beings besides himself who are chief representatives of this right knowledge, and he is as Atumraye. You also have Otunre, Amunre, and Anunre, and these are Riskians, Razun Zakun Zanun, plus you got Yanun. So these are Riskians of the highest order, and they're here they're here for the feminines, to raise them up, because they'll be ruling for another 24,000 years. Because this, as we said earlier on, this planet is feminine. This is a feminine planet. It's a female planet. See, because the females, you are the creators. See, the egg, like you've got the ovum, you've got the egg. That is the life germ. So when people say which came first, the chicken or the egg, you have to say the egg comes first, because they've got the life germ. All the males do, all he's presenting to the female or fertilizing the female is with his DNA. And as Ken said earlier on, that the process is called parthenogenesis. You have the ability to procreate without the aid of a male, because you've got a gland in there called the Bartholin gland within the vaginal orifice. And when that was activated, women were procreating, as we said before, without the aid of a man. And what that means then, that what role does a man have? Very soon you will have no role to play in terms of procreation.
Well, that again, we have to be very clear that even when we say females, there are different classes of females. So you have the sacred feminine, and then you have, just like the men, not every man is a Nuwapian man, because it comes with, are you applying Wu-Sabat? Are you actually learning and putting into practice so you can evolve to become who you're really supposed to be? So, people like to hear something and think it's applied to everyone. So people use words like we a lot, and we have to say who's the we that you're talking about, because not everyone is waking up. Not everyone is actually, because it's become a fashion now where people are just knowledge junkies, like the
Well, there's even that deception where they say they're awake because they think they're awake, but then now in their trap that you're not awake, you're
within a trap. So
that woke versus
so
awake.
people say they're not into religion, and then now they're all about Anunnaki. Everything's Anunnaki, which is where the religion came from. That's the original spell. So, but we have to go into and break it down that we're not all Anunnaki. We're not all related to the Anunnaki bloodlines. Some people are, because Enki went into Africa and took wives and then procreated. But everyone just now, because they know about Anunnaki, because we've gone, okay, the religious stories are coming from the Sumerian, Enuma Elish, Gilgamesh epics. They just say, oh, now it's about Anunnaki. And everyone's, I saw an Adamite woman breaking down the Anunnaki, and she was going on like this was fresh information. And I'm like,
20, 30 years ago.
You're late. Like, a lot of people are so late that they don't realize that the information about the Anunnaki story was being broken down 50 years ago. And so we've now moved on dealing with our culture and the Natharu and the master teacher and what's current now, known as the hereafter. Hereafter, all the dead stuff. Everyone in the Bible, Quran, and all the religious books are dead. The information is dead because it doesn't change. News is supposed to be something fresh from north, east, west, and south. And it's nothing new. So they're actually admitting to you when they're saying, oh, this is the final book or the final testament. And then I pointed out, like, where's the information about the AI? Where's the information about the internet? And all? It's not there because they don't have it. So they have to become current in the hereafter. So that's why we're here. And if you want to learn more, just
click on the button. Click on the link.
Come see us.
Right.
Do you have any more questions?
Do you know what? I've plenty. How much time we got? All right, one more question. Maybe a bit more with the current news, talking about nuclear weapons and the effect of a nuclear weapon on our soul, spirit, being, and does that have an impact on the journey that we're all currently embarking on, trying to uplift each other? If that detonates, is that just whatever, or does it impact the physical, the spiritual being?
If we were about a spiritual, we're about a physical.
There's a
being,
transformation. There's a transformation. When Partner Babyanun incarnated in 1945 and dwelled within the child known as Dr. Malachi, when he made his manifestation, he taught in the earliest parts of our teachings that Earth is up for judgment next, because there's galactical brothers and extraterrestrial beings, galactical beings that are watching the evolution of this planet. You with me?
Like a good Netflix series.
Yeah, if you look at it like that, yeah.
I don't know if it's a good one.
Good one, yeah. But you had the fallen angels who are causing the havoc on the planet and have deceived many. Do you get what I'm saying? Into destroying this planet. But like you said, if this planet doesn't evolve and goes through the different dimensional phases that it's supposed to go through, then there'll be a loss of souls. Now, the impact of that is that what we do to this planet affects the rest of the solar system, which can affect the rest of the constellations and galaxies. Because why? You ever known about something called a domino effect before? Yeah? So literally atoms, that's what the planet's made up of. So if an atom, like what they did in 1945, when they dropped the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, those are atomic bombs. How is it that we're still here? It's because there's galactical brothers and sisters who are actually created a thing to hold this planet in place so that the planet can heal itself. You understand? So these are things that we are not aware of. But Partner Babyanun has made us conscious to the reality that we have galactical beings, relatives who are looking out for our best interests. And then there's those who are not looking out for the best interests because they want to see this destruction. Do you get what I'm saying? They want to show that man or humanity is not worthy to be in alignment with the rest of the galactical brothers and sisters because they just don't listen. Do you know what I mean? They're very destructive, you know?
And to add to that, you see footage where missiles are fired and then crafts just come and dismantle them in midair, and they're catching this on film. So if the same thing happened, if you go back and look at the wars, First World War, Second World War, crafts showed up at the White House, like to tell these presidents and the people that, you know, you can't be doing this, because they will step in. But if Earth does get the judgment, and it's like push the button, get rid of it, because they're not listening, they're not evolving to become a part of the galactic community, then unfortunately the Master is also here to take away those who are ready to go. And he has the ability and the formula and the secrets to open portals and to open gateways and to do certain things where some will be able to escape, even though you have like CERN, they're doing that right now with the Hadron Collider. They're opening portals and bringing in a lot of disagreeable entities, and some of them come and they can't control them, and this is where a lot of the chaos is going on as well. So we're living in a day and time where they're actually messing with the very fabric of time, matter and space. And so a galactical being that's been sent here, one who knows how to solve the problems of the world. But it starts off with you, first of all, recognizing that this game's been played on you and you've been dumbed down and you don't know what's going on the planet, and the people you think are in control are not really the people that are in control. The foods you think you're eating are not real foods. Everything you think your soul is being like, you're being recycled constantly. The moon's not what you think it is. We can go on and on and on and on.
Funny way you mentioned the moon. A new iPhone update came out. It sets the moon as everyone's like wallpaper standard unless you change it, which I thought was a bit
interesting.
Yeah, interesting, exactly.
Because it's artificial, you know. So the thing is, as a race, as people, beings, life waves, if we want to go there, like different whole level of conversation, but we have abilities that the governments have been trying to hold down, put a lid over, but they tell you that there are people who can remote view. There are people who speak about projects that, like Project Looking Glass.
So on their government CIA files.
Right. So these technologies of traveling intergalactically and time traveling and cities on the ground and all sorts of stuff that's been hidden for years is now being exposed. So beings are able to go into these meetings, like astral project and go and sit down and watch and see what's going on, or remote view and see things. And I'm talking about people of all races, and they're coming back and saying, you know what, this was my experience, I was there, they saw me and I had to leave, you know. So, and this is something the Master has been telling us for years. So some of the information that's been exposed, that's really why they incarcerated him, because he was putting out this information in the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, and they were like, this is supposed to be hidden information. How do you know this? Because he was one of those beings that would be a part of the Galactic Federation. The brothers would tell him what's going on. He would come and tell us and prepare us, and he's still preparing for people that want to basically make the transformation. And if you can only go up or down. So you have ascending souls and descending souls. Two Earths in the same space. Is which
Same
one
world
you
in a different world,
which vibration do you live in, and which one are you going to be able to stay in? So yeah.